Hey everybody, what's going on? Here we are. It's Wednesday, and we're talking about behind the scenes movie mishaps. I
Yeah.
realized that I liked movie mishaps because of the alliteration, but I realized mishaps might be underselling it a bit
Yeah. Some of them
because
are tragedies.
because a lot of these are pretty horrible and
Yeah.
and people did actually die. And I am going to say too, a couple of these, like coming especially some of the more famous ones, we might have talked about them a little bit before, especially if we reviewed the particular movie that we're going to be talking about. So
Yeah.
we probably brought it up on there, but there's so many on here that we haven't talked about before, and actually even some that I didn't even really know about. And I didn't really have any super like criteria or anything because not too like earlier today I watched an iceberg video about, movie accidents and tragedies and stuff. And there was like a bajillion of them on there. It was like more
Yeah.
than an hour long. And I was like, well, I can't include everything.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, a lot of the stuff, I mean, some of the stuff they brought up I already had in my list. Like I'd already like planned to do that. But then there was like a bunch of other ones. I'm like, man, I gotta like put a limit on here somewhere.
Yeah. Some of them are well known. Yes, we're going to talk about Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
And yes,
some
we're going to talk about Crow.
yeah,
All
I
the
mean, how
famous
can
ones.
you not?
Yeah. That's the famous ones, but we're going to talk about them.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about famous ones and maybe slightly less famous ones. I will note that a very long time ago, we did a show called Movies That Were Complete Shit Shows Behind the Scenes, where we talked less about specific incidents and more about movies that were just, like I said, complete shit shows. So stuff like Wizard of Oz or Fitzcarraldo or what was the one Island of Dr. Moreau, like stuff like that where just like everything went wrong like on lots of different parameters, whereas this is more about deaths or horrible injuries like on movie sets. You know what I'm saying? So there's like a slight distinction. Because I was thinking, I was like, didn't we do a show like this? And I looked it up and yeah, but we did more. It was just more like movies that were the production of it was just like, actors were a pain in the ass and like weather was bad and shit like that. Whereas this is kind of more, like I said, specific people that like died or there were horrible accidents like on the set. And I can see Zach is here and he's excited about it. And I think that Zach was the one that recommended this one, and it won in the poll by quite a large margin. So, Zach said, "Are you going to talk about them blowing up the horse on Heaven's Gate?" That was one of the ones that I saw on the iceberg, and then I didn't have it in my list. And at that point, I had so much stuff on my list. I was just like, maybe we'll have to do a part two. You know what I mean? We are going to talk about the Resident Evil movie, though. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jack Torrance says, "Imagine dying for one of those crappy Resident Evil movies." Yeah, it's just dying for any one of these movies is just it just shouldn't happen. I mean, and no it does and accidents happen and shit like that, but some of these are really fucking sad. And some of these people didn't die but were, that lost their livelihood because they were, crippled in some way or something like that. So we're going to talk about that as well.
What was funny with the Resident Evil video games, the actors and actresses that played in the original game that was made by the Japanese studio, nobody knew who they were. People were looking at them, looking for them for a long time, and they did. Wang evidently he did an investigation on his show, and they tracked them down, and they were just like professional models and actors that were working in Japan for a company. They'd just bust them around, and in a single day they would do underwear modeling, and then they'd go another place. Well, they got randomly sent there to do the Resident Evil cutscenes, and they got famous for it, and they didn't know. Most of them didn't know. They didn't even know what it was for. Wild when you think about it, because they're like video game icons now. Because the clips were real short, and some of them were taken outside and everything. I just thought it was an interesting story that they ended up in a video game and they had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, shit happens. Like I said,
Yeah.
if you're doing acting work or voiceover or something, like
Yeah.
sometimes you just get a job, you come in for a day or two, do a thing,
Yeah.
and then you just move on to the next one. You don't really think about what's going to happen to it because
Yeah.
you have to sign all kind of contracts about,
Yeah.
how long they can use your image or your voice or whatever the fuck. And it's
Well,
like,
the company that was driving around was a Japanese company, basically owned them in whatever they did. So they didn't have any rights to anything. They just paid them daily for these little gigs
yeah,
that they were
I
sending
mean,
them on.
that's when you're not like an A-list star,
Yeah.
that's pretty much how shit goes.
Yeah, and they didn't even
in
know-
the U.S.
They thought it was for a movie. They weren't sure what it was for because the English wasn't very good for the guys that were doing the filming. It was for a video game. It was the cutscenes.
Yeah. Elizabeth Jack says, "Is the Twilight Zone movie on this?" Yes. I mean,
Yes.
I couldn't not include that.
Gotta
That's
be on
probably
that.
like the most famous. And it's sad for me. I think we did talk about it when we reviewed Twilight Zone the movie, but that was like a really long time ago. And it's really sad for me because I really love that movie, and I'm actually a fan of John Landis's other movies, and I do think that John Landis was really he didn't get in any trouble really. I mean, well, he wasn't punished for this, but I do think he was like kind of responsible. Like,
Yeah.
partially for what happened.
Yeah, the Crow's gonna be on there too.
Yeah.
The one, are you gonna get the one with the dude? The one that happened recently when they were shooting it down.
Yeah.
What was the name of that one?
The Rust, that Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that.
Alec Baldwin.
I said, yeah, I got to include that one too because that one was pretty recent. And actually, some of the more recent movies that had like stunt people die on them and stuff like that, I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And actually even some older movies that I had seen like had people die on there, like stunt people or something like that, and I didn't know about that either. So it's like, so I learned some shit on here. Like, obviously some of the big ones like Twilight Zone the movie, The Crow, Roar, like I feel like a lot of people know about those. But then there was a lot of ones that they don't know about. I will note too, I didn't include a huge amount of ones from like the golden era of Hollywood. There are a few on here, but I will say that the reason we have all of these safety rules nowadays is because movie makers back then did not give a fuck.
Yeah.
They were pretty much, especially like if it was a big like Cecil B. DeMille production or something like that, they're just kind of like, they're just extras. If they die, they die. You know what I mean? They just did not care at all. Like, there was just like no safety protocols, like in the 20s.
Although we got some great movies when they didn't really worry too much about safety
and stuff like that.
The
But
Mad Max and fucking Road Warrior.
I mean, it's one thing if I feel like if you're a stunt person, you know, it's a job and it's like, you know, obviously that's your livelihood, so you don't want to get fucked up doing it. So it's like, obviously you need to, you know, maintain safety protocols and things like that. But I do kind of feel like they at least know the risk. I feel like if you're working on a movie and you're just an extra, like you're not even a stunt person, and it's just like, oh, you know, flood the whole thing. It's they can swim. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's like shit like that. Which, that absolutely should be prevented. It's like, look, I'm just like a day player here, okay? It's like, I'm not a stunt person. I'm not putting my life in danger. I'm just trying to like make some money for the day. You know,
because a lot of the best shots out of Mad Max and Road Warrior were accidents. And those dudes got hurt doing it. The motorcycle wrecks. Yeah, one dude fucking got his legs busted up. He was in the hospital and he go, man, I feel bad for this and shit. I don't think we're going to use it. He's like, what? What do you mean? Use it.
Well, yeah, like a lot of times.
I broke my leg. Use
it. I mean, if it's an injury that they can recover from, then I can understand that. It's like, I broke my legs for that shit. You better use that in the movie if it's like a good shot.
Yeah, he goes, it looks good, man. It looks good. He goes, yeah, then use it.
Yeah.
It cost me my fucking leg.
Well, yeah.
It's my job. Yeah.
Granther says, no one died during filming of a Tom Cruise movie, but a few Thetans sacrificed themselves intentionally. I'm going to argue with you there because I do actually have an example of someone that died filming a Tom Cruise movie.
All right.
And actually, it did happen more than once. You know what I mean? Not on the same movie, but on different movies. I just have like the main one, but there was another one
Days of Thunder?
that happened. It was not Days of Thunder.
Okay.
It was actually the original Top Gun.
Okay. I didn't know anybody died on that one.
Yes, they did. And I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what I admit. I learned all kinds of stuff. Like I said, I feel like there's, 10 that are kind of really well known and they get repeated a lot. But then there's like other little ones that are like kind of get forgotten, like in all the fucking, All right. So I guess unless you have anything else you would like to, because I have, these aren't in, and again, these aren't in any particular order. They're not in like, least to most horrific or anything. I mean, they're just in a completely random order pretty much. They're not in chronological order or nothing. They were just kind of like, however I thought of them or came up with them or however they appeared in other people's lists when I was researching it and shit like that. So there's no order at all. I didn't do them like in an iceberg, like from best known to least known or anything like that. They're just random. So I'm just telling you that right now. All right, so since so many people have brought up Twilight Zone, the movie, which, like I said, I think is the most famous, probably the most famous, maybe not as much now because it's like an older movie, but for Gen X, for sure, this was like the most famous example, and it's also one of the most horrific, just because of the nature of the accident, like what happened to them, and the guy that died, well, 3 people died, but one of the people that died was like one of the stars of the movie. So Twilight Zone, the movie, if you have not seen it, especially if you're, maybe younger or something like that, came out in 1983. And like I said, this makes me really sad because I really, really like that movie and I've seen it like a million times. It's one of my favorite anthologies. So like I said, it's an anthology. It has several stories in it. One of them being directed by John Landis. The other ones are by Steven Spielberg, Joe Dante, and George Miller, who also did Mad Max. And the incident occurred on John Landis's segment, which is called Time Out. Now, in this particular segment, which was the first one in the movie after the wraparound, Vic Morrow, who at that point had a long movie career, he was playing this guy named Bill Connor, who was just this really angry, like bigoted asshole, and he, like, as a comeuppance, because it's Twilight Zone, he kind of gets magically like transported back to different times in history where he is seen as a persecuted minority or whatever. Like he's back in Nazi Germany and everyone thinks he's Jewish and stuff. So he can experience things from the oppressed people's point of view. So at one stage, he finds himself gone back to Vietnam during the Vietnam War. And he's kind of like, so he's other people see him, even though he's obviously like an older white guy, they see him like as Vietnamese, and he's like, the Americans are like bombing him and stuff. So there's one scene in the movie where he is carrying two Vietnamese children, to safety while American soldiers are attacking from a helicopter. Now the children were played by two local children, a 7-year-old named Micah Din Lee and a 6-year-old named Renee Shin Yi Chen. Now, the first problem is that on a film shoot, and if it's an American production, even if you were shooting in another country, I believe American laws still apply. So child labor laws would apply. And children that young are not permitted to do night shoots. Okay? So that was the first thing. So, because they were working at night and they weren't supposed to be doing that.
Wonder why? That doesn't make any sense.
I know. Well, it's just because, I mean, they're supposed to be in school and they're supposed
They can't work on a weekend?
No, well, I think they can work on weekends, but they can only work X amount of hours because they're still like supposed to be at school or at least have a tutor or something like that. You know what I mean? They have a lot of rules around like children. And so they weren't supposed to be working at night. They didn't get the proper permits for the child labor laws. And they and that seems as though that was done deliberately because they knew they wouldn't be able to get the permits. So they were just kind of like, and just kind of like skirted around them because they wanted to get this shot. They wanted to do it at night. And it's like, you know what I mean? So they were just like, well, who's going to find out about it? Well, turns out the whole world found out about it, sadly. Now, at the later trial, because there was a trial, their parents knew that they were going to be shooting at night, but they did not know what the nature of the scene was. Like that they didn't understand that there was going to be like a real helicopter and like explosions and stuff like that, like right there. You know what I mean? So they were shooting at about 2 a.m. This was in July of 1982. They were shooting in, it's set in Vietnam, but they were actually shooting it in California. So Vic Morrow is shooting this scene and he's standing in this kind of a shallow river and he's got the two kids like in his arms. And the helicopter is kind of hovering like low over them because he's supposed to be like shooting at them. You know what I mean? And all around them, and some of this scene is still in the movie, by the way. Obviously the accident isn't in there, but like all the stuff leading up to it is still in the movie. So all around them, there's all these explosions, because it's supposed to be this Vietnamese village that's being destroyed, like by the American soldiers, right? Now, according to the later investigation, the extreme heat from the explosions damaged the helicopter's rotor system. And the tail rotor assembly separated, and the pilot of the helicopter lost control of the helicopter. The helicopter at that point was like right over Vic Morrow and these two little kids, and it basically plunged down toward them.
Yeah, without a tail rotor, you got no control.
Yeah. Vic
It'll
Morrow
it'll
and
just
one of the
circle.
children were decapitated, and the other kid was crushed underneath the helicopter.
Killed him.
Yeah,
No,
all three of them
all
died.
three go.
There were 6 people on the helicopter. They were injured, but they all survived. However, the 3 people on the ground died horribly. And what they discovered later, the investigation, was that I believe the dude that was like in charge of the pyrotechnics, it occurred to him that something like this might happen, like, oh, all this heat, because the helicopter's like right there. So it's like all this heat might, fuck with the helicopter. However, for whatever reason, he did not adequately convey this concern. Not that anyone would have done anything about it necessarily, but he didn't really feel the need to say anything about it, even though I believe he did say later that it did occur to him that that was a possibility, that that might happen. So it was like a lack of communication, just compounded on the fact that these kids shouldn't have even been shooting at night, like they shouldn't have even been there in the first place. And it was just like a horrible, horrible, tragic
Would have happened
accident.
anyway. They shot it in the daytime. They just would have been killed during the day.
Yeah, but I mean,
They were going to shoot it with those kids. They were and those explosions.
yeah,
So it wouldn't have changed anything if they had done it during the day.
maybe so.
Nah, wouldn't have made a difference. Those kids would have been killed anyway.
Yeah,
They
it's
would
just,
have been killed during the day.
it was just, but like I said, it was just, and I think that there were other issues like with the permitting, that they were trying to work around and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there were a bunch of corners that they had cut.
Yeah.
So, with the actor that had gotten killed, and then the director. I don't remember exactly what it was. It's been a long time since I heard about the case. I didn't do my research for this one, but yeah, fuck ups. They're being fuck
Yeah.
ups. They were trying to get the filming done too. They were kind of in a hurry.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of an issue with a lot of these, is that, I get it that making a movie is very expensive and it's very stressful, and there's like a lot of people's livelihoods on the line. You're kind of under a lot of pressure to like get it finished and all this other kind of shit. And I get that. So when that happens, like obviously people are going to rush and cut corners and like not check stuff and things like that. And unfortunately, even though there are things in place where this is technically not supposed to happen, obviously shit happens. And I feel like in this case, it was just, like I said, a case of probably the kids shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
The guy that was doing the pyrotechnics probably should have said something about, hey, maybe can we move the helicopter, or can we do something different so we don't risk that, or whatever.
What I remembered now is that they were supposed to be a rehearsal where they were supposed to go through it with the explosions, but just the pilots, nobody else, and see if everything was were safe, and it worked out. But they skipped it, so there was going to be like a run through.
Yeah. So
they would have found out early that no, you can't have those explosions next to that helicopter, and the helicopter would have gone down, but there wouldn't have been anybody else, and the pilot lived. So
yeah, everybody in the helicopter lived.
Yeah.
I mean, they were injured, but they survived.
Far, they weren't very far from the ground.
Yeah, they was low
like
to the ground.
20 feet.
Yeah, it was really low to the ground. Like I said, you can kind of see, and don't look for it, but there is footage of this. You can't. It's kind of grainy, so like you can't see exactly what happened, but it's like if you look close, you can kind of see it. So it's like don't watch it. Like seriously, don't.
It's probably not impressive anyway.
Well, I mean, I thought it was upsetting, but you know what I mean. It's just, but because you know what happened. And like I said, they do use some of the footage in the movie, obviously not where he died. And actually, I think there was supposed to be more to that story. Like, I think there was another segment. Because remember how in that segment, I think he goes to like 3 different places. Like he's in Nazi Germany, and then he's in like Alabama or something like that, and the KKK come after him or something like that. And then there's the Vietnam bit. I think there was actually another bit where he was supposed to be in another part of history, but obviously he died, so they couldn't shoot it. So they just kind of truncated it and left it at that. I don't know if that's true, but I remember reading that, and I don't remember what the other segment was supposed to be. So, so John Landis, George Folsey, who was the associate producer, the helicopter pilot, whose name was Dorsey Wingo, and production manager Dan Allingham, and special effects specialist Paul Stewart were all charged with involuntary manslaughter. It was quite a famous trial at the time. I remember seeing John Landis in the courtroom and everything like that. So the trial ran about 10 months, over 1986 and 1987, and was kind of a big deal. Like, I mean, as you might imagine, because it was a huge thing. Like, everybody knew about the accident and that they were getting blamed for it. In the end, all 5 of them were acquitted. And they were acquitted because the defense was able to successfully argue that the precise series of events leading up to the crash couldn't have reasonably been foreseen. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like one person fucked something up and caused that directly. It was just kind of a lot of little things that happened that culminated in that crash. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, we can't in good conscience like hold these people like responsible. A lot of people did still hold them responsible, though. I think famously Steven Spielberg was not friends with John Landis after that, because Steven Spielberg also directed a segment of this, and I think he was a producer on it too. And yeah, I think he was like, yeah, I'm done with that guy, like, afterward. And I've heard that there was a book about this. I can't remember what the name of it was, but I've heard from people that have read it that like John Landis comes off like very, very badly in it, like kind of callous, I guess. But I don't know. I can't really speak to that because I haven't read the book. That's just what I've heard from people that have read it. But the thing is that the trial, I mean, even though they were all acquitted, all of the shit that came up about, illegally employing the 2 kids, like they didn't have the permits and everything like that, that kind of caused like a lot of changes to the laws. But no one was ultimately persecuted for that specifically, for like circumventing the child labor laws, which had the kids there in the first place. Like I said, had they done it during the day, or I mean, it still might have happened, which I guess was maybe one of the reasons why they were acquitted, because they were thinking, well, that's bad, but also it might not have ended up mattering.
Yeah, and somebody's asked if it was a criminal or civil case. It's a criminal case.
It was
If
involuntary manslaughter.
Manslaughter, that's criminal.
Yeah, that's manslaughter. But yeah, they all got up to it. So after that, like I said, the movie came out in 1983. The trial was ended in 1987, and after that, there was like a lot of changes to the laws about shooting with helicopters, shooting with pyrotechnics, like shooting with child performers. Shit like that, and trying to strengthen like communication between the various departments, since that seems like it was an issue in this case as well, because the pyrotechnic guy did occur to him that something like that might happen, and he didn't really say anything about it or bring it to anyone's attention or anything like that. So like I said, just a horrible tragedy and shit show all around. Now the next one I want to talk about, and this one's kind of crazy actually. We might have talked about this before. I'm not sure. Like, I remember some of this stuff. But we're going to talk about The Exorcist for a minute. Now, The Exorcist, I feel like I don't believe in curses. Like I said, we did a show about the Buddy Holly curse, like, not too long ago. Like, just was it this week or last week? I don't even remember. It was last week. And I don't believe in curses. But if you did, I could see why the shooting of The Exorcist was probably like the most fucking cursed shit ever. You know what I mean? And it's funny because, the movie's about demon possession. There's a great series, if you have Shudder, called Cursed Films. And they do a whole ass episode on The Exorcist. And I don't even remember, I watched it a while back, but I don't even remember if they mentioned like all of the crazy shit that happened like on the fucking set of this. And there are some deaths involved, mostly injuries, but also, I don't know. This is just crazy. So obviously The Exorcist, needs no introduction. The iconic 1973 horror movie is probably one of the best horror movies ever made, based on William Peter Blatty's novel, which was in turn based on a real exorcism case from the 1940s, which was actually a little boy, not a little girl. We did a show about it a long time ago. I think they called him Roland Doe, if you want to look it up. So, one of the earliest things that happened on the set of The Exorcist was there was a fire on the set of the McNeil house, because that had been built as a set, like the interior. And much of the interior was, burned, like, badly. And so they had to shut the whole production down and rebuild the whole thing. The weird thing about it is that pretty much the whole interior set burned except for the bedroom, where the Reagan McNeil bedroom where they shot like the demon shit, like where they did the exorcism, like that was fine, but the rest of the set burned. You know what I mean? So a lot of people thought that was kind of spooky, and that was like only the first thing that happened. So yeah, so like I said, the production had to be delayed because they had to rebuild essentially the whole entire set because it, burned really badly. Now, after they got going again, Linda Blair, who at the time was, I believe, 13 years old, because she was possessed in the movie, obviously, she was attached to all these like rigs and harnesses and stuff, like to kind of make her thrash around, right? To, like, unnaturally. And from that, she got a really bad back injury that plagued her for many years afterward. Like, fucked her back all up because they just kept flinging her around like in this fucking. And she was a 13-year-old kid. You know what I mean?
Had wires on her, pulling on her.
Yeah, like it was like a rig, like a harness, and they were just kind of like that. Ellen Burstyn, who played her mother, was also injured, got a really bad back injury in one of the most famous scenes in the movie, where Reagan essentially like supernaturally throws her mom like back against the dresser, like back against the wall, like in her bedroom. Ellen Burstyn was also in a harness, which yanked her like back toward the floor, back toward the wall. And the pull was so severe that it really like fucked her back up. And they left that in the movie. So like when you see her laying there, like in pain, like she's actually in horrible pain because it just like wrenched her back like right out of fucking, you know what I mean?
It fucked her spine. Good, she got hurt. Used it.
Fucked her spine
like,
all up. I mean, I don't know if they have to get. I don't know if they have to get permission. Or if they're just like, well, fuck it, you signed on to the movie, so we're gonna use whatever footage we want to use.
Fuck it, if you want to work in Hollywood again, we're gonna use it.
That's what, yeah, because you don't want to get a reputation for being difficult or whatever. So I don't really know. I mean, she does talk about it, like talked about it on the Shudder show, and she's talked about it a lot, like subsequently.
Contrary to popular belief, if you can't work in Hollywood and you're working in Hollywood, now you can't work in Hollywood, you're gonna be washing dishes or well, waitress, yeah. I mean, that's and if not that, a hooker. That's what happened to a lot of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you get there, it's like your kind of whole thing is you need to work, and that's what they do for work. So if they can't find work or they get blackballed or something like that, they're kind of hosed.
Yeah, they're not all, Harrison Ford, where you can go back to putting in kitchen cabinets.
Well, very few of them are Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Harrison Ford can put in some kitchen cabinets.
And even he's an old man now.
He's an old man now,
but it's just kind of, well, that's what I mean. It's like there's really only the top tier A-listers. The rest of the people are just working actors. You know what I mean? It's like every now and then you see them like turn up in a commercial or like they'll be in some shitty ass like direct-to-video movie or whatever the hell.
They're near worthless in the real world. They don't,
you know what I mean? They have to get work somehow. So that's why I really don't like when I see an actor I like turn up in kind of some piece of shit, like direct-to-streaming movie on Tubi or something. Yeah. Like I don't feel bad because I'm just like, hey, they got to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look at David Lee Roth. He picks you up in an ambulance.
Well, hey, I mean, he went and got a job. You know what I mean? Yeah, right, like he trained as like a.
Aren't you David Lee Roth? I sure am. How's your neck feel? Oh, I feel good.
Yeah, and I think Vanilla Ice also went and built cabinets afterward.
Vanilla Ice,
or whatever, but I'll never forgive him for that fucking Cool as Ice movie. That was the cringiest shit I ever saw.
David Lee Roth never coming back after that last tour. He's never coming back.
Well, his voice is shot.
Yeah, he didn't have a voice.
But like I said,
he looked good, but he didn't have a voice. Yeah.
Well, some actors and musicians and stuff, like after they've, passed their prime, if you want to call it that, some of them do actually go on and get, degrees or get like other jobs. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like anything else. If you didn't make $1 bajillion as an actor, which a lot of them don't, especially if they're just working actors, then, when the work stops, they got to find something else to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just like anything else. So both Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair got horrible back injuries from the rigging that they were yanking them around on. Also, William Friedkin, who, man, he makes some wonderful kick-ass movies, but he's I don't know if I'd say hard to work with. Maybe I would say hard to work with, but he just much like Stanley Kubrick, he wants to get what he what he wants, and if you have to suffer for it, then so be it, kind of thing. So his whole thing was, when they're doing the exorcism and the room is freezing cold, and he very specifically did not want that to look fake. You know what I mean? Because sometimes they didn't do it with CGI back in the 70s, but they would kind of fake like, actors with the breath and everything like that. So he did not. So he's like, well, so we have to have this room essentially like refrigerated. So they made the room literally freezing cold so that it would look real, so that everybody had fucking the breath coming out and everything like that. And they were in there for hours and hours and hours at a time, and everybody was just freezing their fucking asses off. I mean, it looks great in the movie, but I'm sure it was fucking miserable to work on. So there was all that, but then there were all these deaths. Some of them not mysterious, some of them kind of mysterious. The actor Jack McGowan, who plays Burke Dennings, the guy that gets, thrown, like, yeeted out the window, and tumbles down the famous stairs, he died before the movie was released. Vasiliki Maliaros, who is the woman who played Father Karras's mom in the movie, she also died during the production period. She was older, so that's not too crazy. There was a guy who was a night security guard who was like hired. He watched the set at night so nobody would take stuff. He also died during the production. A crew member who was a technical effects guy, like, he also died. One of the dudes that was like a refrigeration technician that was responsible for keeping that room freezing cold, he also died. There was a custodian who cared for the building who was shot and killed during the production. I don't know what the story behind that was, but he got murdered. One of the assistant cameramen, they had a baby, and the baby died, like, shortly after it was born.
So the movie was cursed.
Linda Blair's grandfather died while she was filming. Max von Sydow's brother died on the first day that Max von Sydow was working on the movie. And then there's kind of a famous-ish incident, I guess. So this curse kind of, I guess it even like absorbed events that happened later. So famously, if you know anything about fun fact like horror trivia, especially from this era, you might already know this, but there's a guy named Paul Bateson, and he was a real radiological technician. He briefly appears in this movie, like in the hospital sequence, I think, where she's getting the spinal tap or whatever, or where she's in the hospital one of the times when they're trying to figure out what's wrong with her before they, go to demonic possession. You can see him very clearly in the movie. This guy was later convicted in 1979 of murdering a journalist named Addison Verrill. And prior to his trial, he's never been convicted of these, but he's a very strong suspect. He is actually suspected in a series of unsolved murders of gay men in Manhattan, which they called the Bag Murders. He supposedly, while he was awaiting trial for the Addison Verrill murder, he bragged about doing those crimes while he was in jail. And this was brought up at his sentencing, but they never brought any additional charges up against him. So it's possible that he was a serial killer and he turned up in The Exorcist. Like, he was like an extra. He was a real radiological technician because, like I said, William Friedkin was like a stickler for realism. And so he put like real medical personnel in the hospital scenes. So it would look like they really knew what they were doing. So he actually did work as that. But yeah, he was a murderer for sure, and possibly a serial killer, although he was never convicted of that. And in fact, William Friedkin used this experience partly to inspire his movie Cruising, which came out in 1980, which was actually based on a novel that was written in 1970, but he also incorporated the whole, the kind of BDSM or leather subculture, because that's kind of what that guy was into. So he put that into the movie as well. I really liked Cruising, actually. I don't think we ever reviewed it, but I watched it a couple years back. And I didn't know this, but in 1987, the son of the voice actress who played the demon, Mercedes McCambridge, killed his family and then himself. I did not know that. So
Wow.
yeah. So like I said, there's
That's just a shit show.
a lot of, and like I said, I don't believe in curses, but that is crazy. Like all those fucking people. Um, and so the shoot on this was actually supposed to, I believe it was only supposed to take maybe 20 days. All right, I don't remember, 21 days, 30 days. I don't remember what the original shoot was. But it ended up taking like 200 shooting days. A lot of that, like I said, because of the delay, because the set burned down and they had to rebuild it. You know what I mean? But shit was going so sideways that William Friedkin, who I don't even know if he was that religious, but to make everybody feel better, he asked the priest, who was like a consultant on the film, to bless the set because he thought something was like, you know what I mean? I will say though that, a lot of this stuff did happen, but I'll also say that William Friedkin was not shy about using that to kind of pump up the movie a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, it's a movie about demon possession and the movie's cursed. Like all these people died and all these injuries and the set burned down and all this other kind of shit. You know what I mean? So they did use it like in the publicity a little bit, which I can't blame them, but it is kind of a little shitty, but what are you going to do? Now, I thought this would be a funny juxtaposition, and I actually didn't know about this either. Since we just talked about a devil movie, let's talk about The Passion of the Christ, the movie from 2004. The torture porn Jesus movie, as my sister calls it. I don't think anybody died on this, but there was a lot of injuries, many of which were suffered by the lead actor who played Jesus, Jim Caviezel. Isn't that how you pronounce his last name? Caviezel? I don't remember. This, I did not know this, and this is kind of hilarious. Like, not for him, obviously. He was struck by lightning during the filming of the movie.
He's playing Jesus.
He gets struck by lightning. And I was like, I heard that. I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it really happened.
God did not approve.
It gets better.
Yeah.
So yeah, they said like literally struck by lightning. They said they could see like fire on the side of his head and like smoke coming out of his ear. It actually caused long-term damage like to his heart. He had to have surgeries later on. Crazily enough, a production assistant on the movie was also struck by lightning. I was like, where the fuck are you filming this?
Yeah, I almost got struck by lightning.
New Smyrna Beach?
I told you my lightning story, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, fucking when it was in Gulfport,
I'm terrified of getting struck by lightning.
It's in Gulfport, Mississippi, with my first wife. This is before I married her, though. And we were we left her little apartment and got into her car. And I remember if it was my car or her car. I think it was her car. And then I was driving it, and we were leaving, and right next to me, and it was pouring down rain. Right next to me was a tree. There's a dirt road to Mississippi. And we were in kind of like the campground where she worked. She worked at a campground. And she lived there too. And it's a long story. It had like these bungalows there that she lived in. And as we were leaving the campground, I've heard some loud shit in my life, man. 155 millimeter artillery, fucking explosions right next to me, Bangalore torpedoes, fucking grenades, all kinds of shit. It's like the heavens opened up. Everything went white.
Yeah, I've heard that from people that had lightning.
It's really white inside the car, and it's just bright white like a fucking welding arc. And I turn and look, and the sound is so intense you almost don't hear it. You just feel it, like a just sonic wall hit you in the fucking car, just shockwave. And the tree next to me is maybe, I don't know, 20 feet from the car. I could see the lightning bolt coiling around the tree, and it's flashing like a strobe light. And it's I would say the diameter of a fucking coat hanger. That's how big the lightning bolt is. And as it was flashing and dancing around the fucking tree, I could see bark flying off of it. It was the fucking damnedest thing. Well, yeah, and then it was just gone. And then there was a tree smoking right there. And nothing, the car's insulated, we got rubber tires.
Yeah.
Nothing happened to us. And she was just stunned. And I was like, I happened to be looking right in the direction when it happened. I turned and looked, and it was probably the whole thing maybe lasted 1 second or 2 seconds, but it was like going in slow motion because it was so intense. But the lightning bolt that lights up the whole sky and just lights up everything. When you see it from a distance, you think like, well, how big is that thing? You see how long it is, but how big around is it? It's the diameter of a fucking coat hanger. So it's not big around. It's small. I always pictured it, like a foot in diameter.
No.
No.
I've seen a lightning strike from about 100 yards.
Yeah.
Like it hit, like during a storm. It's Florida, so we get like a lot of thunderstorms and lightning all the time. But the closest one I saw probably about 100 yards away. I think it was kind of like it hit a fence, like my neighbor's fence or something like that. And that scared the piss out of me. It was really loud too.
And because it's so bright, it looks big from a distance, but when you're right up on it.
Yeah, because it's just the light around it.
It looked like a damn coat hanger, just flickering and jumping all around. It looked like it was weird.
Seeing that shit,
like strobe light.
Seeing that shit, I'm like amazed that anybody can survive lightning strikes. They do though, but
yeah, it's intense.
I'm a Florida native, and we get storms like pretty much every day in the summertime. But if I'm outside and I see lightning, like even if it's far away, I'm like this, and I'm just like, I'm getting inside like right now. I do not want to get struck by lightning because it does happen.
I saw the arc go down that tree and dance around it, and as it danced, it knocked every bit of bark off a tree. Wherever that little coat hanger was, it was just knocked the fucking side of the tree out, splinters flying. It was insane, man. Yeah, it's got a physical force to it.
Yeah. So the fact that the dude that played Jesus on this movie got struck by lightning, and a production assistant got struck by lightning, I'm just kind of like, I think the big guy upstairs is trying to tell you something. I mean, I don't believe in that, but you know what I mean? But I think it's kind of funny. So it's not just that, but so the dude playing Jesus, Jim Caviezel, there was, there's a scene in there with the scourging, you know what I mean? It's Jesus' story. Everybody knows that, right? So they're scourging him, and how it was supposed to go was, the actors had the whips like behind him, and there was like a plank of wood or metal or something like that behind that they were supposed to hit that you couldn't see, you know what I mean? Because they were real whips and scourges and stuff, but they didn't really want to hit him. Unfortunately, 2 of the whips missed the target and hit him and tore his skin open. And so he ended up with a big, like 14-inch scar on his back.
Yeah, well, it would probably into that whip around that board.
Yeah.
And hit you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the setup was like. It might have been like a rig or something. Yeah. Also, they had him carry the cross and the crucifixion scenes, right? And that weighed about 150 pounds. It was made of wood. And they first like kind of dropped it on his back, and it dislocated his shoulder and tore his AC joint.
He had to earn his Jesus money.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like, yeah, he suffered like for real.
Yeah.
And he was also filming a scene where Mary is approaching Jesus or something like that, and he fell and like clamped down on his tongue and like almost bit his tongue off. Yeah. So it's like all his blood came out. And also they shot the crucifixion scenes in the winter, and it was really windy. And so he's like obviously hanging up there with like not much clothes on, right? Because he's Jesus. Yeah. And he got hypothermia and pneumonia and a lung infection from that.
I remember seeing some documentary where they were showing some guys, I think they might have been Filipino Christians, and they had a big ceremony, and a few of them had volunteered to be crucified and go through everything that Jesus went through. They were whipping them, and they crucified him. They nailed him into the cross and shit.
I saw that.
Put the damn crown of thorns on them. They didn't pierce their sides or anything, but I mean, they really nailed the dude in there. Yeah. Which you said, man, how can you do that? Well, we know fetish people, fucking Aurora would hang herself from fucking hooks in her back and swing around. If you know where to put it to avoid, I guess, major blood vessels. Yeah.
I still wouldn't do it through my hand, though. I mean, you kind of need your hands. You don't really need the backs of your shoulders from day to day.
They don't go through any bones. They go between the bones.
But still, it's just like you have to use your hands like all the time. So
yeah.
It seems like it would just be a huge inconvenience.
You could probably talk
if
Aurora
nothing else.
Into it. If you say, well, it's safe if you do it here, she'd probably all right do it. She's tough.
I wouldn't do it just because there's no reason.
Yeah.
No reason. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if other people want to do it. I don't care.
Yeah, well, they want to see what it was like, what Jesus went through. Okay, I respect your game.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, I'm not gonna do it, but
yeah, I'm not gonna do it. Have fun.
Yeah.
Put a big crown of thorns.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, but good luck with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said that on one of the shows before. It's just kind of like no shade if people want to like climb mountains and jump off buildings and shit like that. But
if you want to get closer to Jesus and get crucified, all right, it's okay.
There's just no reason. There's no reason for me to do something like that.
Europeans would probably really respected that in the Middle Ages when they were doing that kind of shit.
Well, yeah, because they'd just be like,
you were crucified? Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, wow. We're going to give you Jesus points, man.
What a holy person.
You got some Jesus points, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why they were doing it.
Yeah.
It was like a weird kind of virtue signaling.
Yeah, it's all virtue signaling.
You know what I mean? Like you could survive the same shit. Either that or you could stand up and say, Jesus was a pussy. I did the same thing.
Fucking soldiers do the same thing.
And I didn't die.
The soldiers do the same thing. Jumping on a grenade to save your buddies is virtue signaling in a way. You don't want to die, but you're just, somebody's got to go. You're going to be, I'm going to select myself, So I understand it.
Yeah.
I don't know. War boy mentality from fucking Fury Road. Yeah. Which is virtue signaling.
But I feel like if you know you're going to die, that's not really virtue signaling because you're not going to be around to enjoy the accolades. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean?
Well, because I feel like if you're virtue signaling, that means you want to get praise. And you kind of have to still be alive to get
that. No, not a soldier. Dying is like, you're going to be with the other dead ones in Valhalla and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're surviving. People will talk about you. And the reward was the death. You can't run around killing people in combat and not accept your own death when it's handed out to you. Would you to be a pussy about it? No, you got to do it. Besides, a lot of times the jumping on a grenades thing, the grenade's going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to jump on it. So you all would have died anyway. You're just saving two other good dudes.
Yeah.
So there's a little more sense.
Well, it's a practice. Well, no, it's almost like a practical consideration.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah. Seth says, I feel like being crucified is more extreme than hanging from hooks. It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's way more extreme. All right. So let's talk about The Conqueror. I feel like this is maybe it's a much older movie. So I feel like this is maybe kind of in the middle of like, well, how well-known shit is. This is also a famously terrible movie. So in 1954, Howard Hughes, yes, that Howard Hughes, and the director of this movie, Dick Powell.
I understand about Hell's Angels.
No,
it's not Hell's
I
Angels?
said The Conqueror.
The Conqueror.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because guys got killed in Hell's Angels too. All right.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot of movies. I couldn't cover all of them because there's like a bajillion. Which one
that was.
So this is the one with John Wayne playing Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan, that's right, yeah.
Which is already a really stupid idea. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, but okay. I mean, I guess it was more common back then for like white actors. It was actually quite common.
Yeah, they wanted to see
for white actors to play.
They want to see
Asian characters.
It makes total sense.
But like I said, the movie was terrible even back then. Like people talked about how fucking horrible it was.
Yeah, he's supposed to be doing westerns and shit.
It's a very famously terrible movie.
Yeah.
Which makes the shit that happened afterward like kind of even sadder, perhaps. So John Wayne is playing Genghis Khan, and I know how ridiculous that sounds, but it really happened, yes. So they shot this in the Utah desert. They shot it around St. George and Snow Canyon in southern Utah, which is a beautiful, red rock landscape. Looks really exotic and looks great on camera, blah, 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 which is why they picked it. What they didn't I think maybe they realized it, but they didn't realize the impact of it, perhaps. But the set where they were shooting was downwind from the Nevada Proving Ground, where they had been doing like all the nuclear tests. Now, in 1953, the year before the production got there, the government had been doing Operation Upshot Knothole, which is a bunch of above ground nuclear detonations in Nevada.
Yeah, what could be wrong?
And
what could go wrong?
So the radioactive material, I mean, it's not going to stay in that spot, right? There's wind and stuff. So the fallout kind of blew really all around the United States. But I mean, it's kind of in that area where
it was blowing all around the United States and probably into Europe too.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
But I mean, where they were filming was like pretty close.
Yeah.
So The Conqueror, they're filming in Utah, like very close to where all of these nuclear explosions had been set off. And they were working there for weeks and weeks. And in the subsequent time, like after the movie came out, wow, an alarming number of people who worked on the movie got cancer.
Yeah.
Including John Wayne. The
Yeah.
director, Dick Powell, Susan Hayward, who was in the movie, Agnes Moorehead, who was in the movie. A bunch of the cast and crew got cancer as well.
A lot of people from that era got cancer.
Well, now here's one thing that I want to say, because like in 1980, People Magazine did a statistic. They said that of the about 220 people that had worked on the movie, 91 of them had been diagnosed with cancer, and 46 of them had died from it, and that was in 1980.
So that was way above statistical averages.
Probably. Yeah. Good. Now the crazy part about this is too, like after they were done shooting in Utah, like Howard Hughes wanted to shoot additional scenes back in a Hollywood soundstage and took some of the dirt from Utah back to the sound so it would look the same.
Yeah.
So the dirt was also kind of radioactive. Yeah. So, it kind of went on
they
and on.
They didn't check probably, but it probably
No,
was.
Yeah, I don't know if they really checked or if they didn't care or if they didn't understand the gravity of it perhaps.
Yeah, they didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah.
They didn't think it was that bad. If it didn't kill you right away, you didn't have symptoms right away, it's okay. They didn't really think much.
I feel like a lot of people still have that mentality. Yeah. Like, it's like, well, if something's bad, it's going to kill you immediately, within 5 seconds. I'm like, that's not really how it works.
My understanding, based on my readings of fucking how the nuclear technology and the arms, how the nuclear arms production, how they were actually doing it. The guys at the very top knew that there was a problem, but they weren't going to say anything.
Well, of course not.
It's because there was a national defense involved, and they said, yeah, we're going to have higher cancer rates all throughout the United States.
Acceptable losses.
What's that?
Acceptable losses.
And they were like, but we're doing this, for a good cause, is to save the nation, and over time, it'll work out.
Yeah, I mean, you can justify anything.
And they were saying that, and they were basically saying the civilians won't figure it out.
Well, yeah,
because they didn't.
There's so much shit. There's so much shit like that.
They never figured out leaded gasoline that was doing fucking.
I mean, until recently, when now everyone and their mama is like, maybe that's what caused all those serial killers.
They were running leaded gasoline and blowing that fucking shit out of tailpipes for a long time.
I don't think leaded gasoline is the only thing that caused the crime spike and all the serial killers and stuff, but I for sure think it was a big factor. Right. I mean, there was a lot of other factors too, but it's a complicated issue.
The guys up top knew that there was a problem. See, the thing is we didn't fucking launch off 10 or 15 of them, hundreds.
Yeah,
we were blowing up hundreds of those things.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize the magnitude. That's why
they're just like, we got nuclear bombs for days. We're just gonna blow up the desert.
My granddad was an aerospace engineer, and he was a security contractor, worked for fucking McDonnell Douglas, Grumman Aerospace, General Atomics, fucking worked on a Saturn project. And one of the things that they were working on was this thing called it was a nuclear external combustion engine rocket. And you could put this giant fucking rocket, it's 20 stories tall, it weighed more than a fucking skyscraper. You could put it up into orbit, and it could get to Mars and back in a few weeks. It could get to Jupiter in a few months and go explore all that stuff. And it was gonna throw all these little tiny nuclear bombs out of the back of it as it would thrust up. And really, they said that the launch would have only been equivalent to 3 atomic bomb tests. So they really should have done it, because they had already fucking done hundreds of these things. For a little bit more, you could have got that thing up in the solar system and done all kinds of. It would stay up there in orbit. It was wild. It was what was that shit called? Project Orion? No, I forgot the name of that project. But it was classified for a long time. But do you remember the name of that project?
No.
I used to know the name of it, but he worked on that a little bit. So sometimes the thinking of the time, they were kind of do or die. And they did all that shit with little damn fucking slide rules and damn little pocket protectors and little pins, little nerdy white dudes. Glasses. No computers. Didn't even have fucking calculators. Did it all in their head. Wrote it down on paper.
So while I will note that, I don't know, on the surface, this seems pretty alarming, because you're out of, just over 200 people that worked on the movie, almost half of them got cancer. That does seem, I don't know what would be the baseline, but that seems pretty statistically high to me. I will say, though, that, cancer's fairly common. Most people will get it if they live long enough. And I think especially in this era, maybe a lot more people got cancer because of the smoking and all that other kind of stuff. And John Wayne in particular was a very, very, very heavy smoker. So, and I don't really think there's any way of proving if it was the fallout or if it was the smoking or if it was any other things. However,
Combination of everything.
I do think the fallout probably did play a significant role because, like I said, that's an unusual number of people
Yeah.
to get cancer, like out of
Yeah.
that small of a group.
It was a bunch of risks and risk factors piling up. Because, like I said, it was also the era of leaded gasoline
That too.
and leaded paint.
That too.
So,
Yeah, everything have fucking
and
lead in it.
asbestos and shit like
And
that.
that too.
They had all kinds of stuff that was
I'm
toxic.
surprised they lived as long as they did, some of them.
Yeah, and it goes way back. Even in the 1800s, they were in an extremely toxic environment. And most of them didn't know what they were eating was toxic.
Yeah.
You
They
know?
would just straight up
Lead-
like eat poison. They didn't
straight up
even
eating poison.
they didn't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you watch any kind of documentary about food history or anything like that, about all the shit they used to adulterate food with, like to make it look better, to make it like smell like it wasn't rotten or whatever the hell, it's like you would be fucking horrified.
Lead.
And people didn't know. There was no law that said you had to put anything packaging on there or say what was in it or nothing. They just sold you whatever bullshit.
And a high quality whiskey would sometimes have wood alcohol in it.
Yeah.
Because there was no way for you to know until you went blind.
By that time it's too late, isn't it?
Too late, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, it's actually really horrifying.
Yeah.
Like the shit they used to get away with back in the day.
Everything was short term, very short term thinking.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that they had the mentality that if it doesn't kill you immediately, then it must be okay. Then it must be okay.
You'll heal up.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They didn't know how the human body worked either. So
well, that's true.
Everything.
That's true.
It was just the way they were.
Yeah.
And what's funny is
not much foresight.
What's funny is that most of them never changed in their lifetime. They just died and were replaced with other people that knew better.
Yeah. That's generally how change happens.
Yeah.
Because I guess for most people it gets harder to change or roll with the times, like the older you get.
Yeah, most people are kind of formed in their teenage years and their 20s.
And they don't change much.
They don't change much.
They
can't adapt to new...
You have to kind of make a concerted effort to, like, not do that.
I think the exception is Gen X and newer. They seem to be more adaptable because we're evolving in a fucking rapidly changing world.
Yeah, it's like if you don't... Yeah. Like, you got to keep up with shit because shit changes, like, every day pretty much. I
remember when the internet was new. I was astounded. I was astounded. I knew when I first ordered something online where they're using a fucking ATM card and they delivered it to my house, and that was in fucking 1995 or 6. I knew the fucking world was changing. I was like, man, that was like some shit out of fucking an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Well, and now everyone just takes it for granted.
Take it for granted now, yeah.
It's like, man, I want a donut, and you just call up Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever, and it's like, bring me some Dunkin' Donuts.
I ordered them goth clothes from Hot Topic, and they showed up in my house. And I didn't have to leave the house. And I was like, well, what's that shopping mall for?
Well, yeah.
And those are
for people to film dead mall videos.
Yeah.
And make liminal horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what they're for now, sadly. All right. So the next one we're going to talk about, probably the most famous one on the show. And that's The Crow. Now, I think we talked about this some, like, when we reviewed the movie, but that was, like, a while back.
Long time ago, yeah.
And like I said, I feel like I kind of debated over, I was like, well, some of the better known ones, like Twilight Zone the movie and The Crow and stuff, do we really need to talk about those? But then I was like, then I felt bad, like, leaving them off because just because they're so famous. So yeah, we'll talk about The Crow.
I know all kinds of shit about guns. Even
briefly.
Back when this happened, man, it was nothing but just misinformation. Like, he was killed by a blank. No, he was killed by a live round.
Technically not, no.
No, he was killed by a live round that got in during a blank fire scene. No, I know what happened now. We'll get to it. But he was killed by a blank. But there was a projectile in the barrel.
Yeah.
From an earlier shoot.
Yeah.
Left in there. From a dummy round.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Which I can explain it. She'll probably explain it in the show.
So obviously Brandon Lee, who was 28 years old at the time of his death, and obviously the son of Bruce Lee, martial arts legend. So he was actually they were actually close to finishing the shooting of the movie, The Crow, the Alex Proyas adaptation of the comic book. And there's a scene in there which they shot later on in the production where Brandon Lee's character, his name is Eric Draven, is murdered. You know, like I said, it's a flashback. He comes home and finds like intruders, like, you know, raping and beating up his girlfriend or whatever, and then like they shoot him. You know what I mean?
Great movie.
So it is a really good movie. So the actor Michael Massey, who was playing the character of Fun Boy, he was supposed to fire a revolver at Brandon Lee and like kill him in the movie.
I think it's a 44 Magnum.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the gun did not, or was not supposed to, contain a live cartridge, and technically, it didn't contain a live cartridge. But that distinction ended up not mattering at all, because earlier in the production, this same revolver, it was a real revolver, but they weren't using, you know, live ammunition. It had been used for shots where the camera, well, like close-up shots where you could see the cartridges in the cylinder.
Yeah, and they were shutting a cylinder,
and
you can see the primers are unfired, so it looks like live rounds. That's what they were shooting.
Yeah. So it's like, so they used dummy rounds because, you know, the blanks didn't look right, like from in the shot, like the close-up shot.
But let me tell you something though. A dummy round is a real round without a powder charge in it.
Yeah.
It's got a bullet in it. It's got a primer in it. There's no powder charge. If you touch it off, that primer will ignite. It'll go off, but you won't hear it. But it'll force that bullet forward by about 2 inches, and it'll be down in that barrel, and it'll be totally silent. You'll unload that revolver, and 5 dummy rounds will fall out, and a fired dummy round will fall out with the projectile gone and a fucking banked primer in the back of it. And when they unload, somebody shot that thing, and bullet projectile went halfway down the barrel, and then they unloaded it, and they saw the shells fall out. One of them had a projectile missing. They didn't notice that. And that's on the armorer. Armorer should have counted all that shit. Where'd that projectile go? It's in that barrel.
Well, they're supposed to. They're supposed to check it. It's just
that was the
negligence.
armorer's fault. They got to keep track of all that ammunition. Blank fire, blank live dummy. But yeah, that's what happened. Go ahead, Jim.
John Goriska's just got in. Are you going to cover the Baldwin case or already? Yeah, we haven't covered it yet, but I am going to cover it briefly, yeah. So like I said, in the close-up shots, there were dummy rounds in there just to make it look more realistic, right? Because blanks don't look the same. So during that earlier scene, part of the dummy projectile, as Tom said, became lodged inside the barrel, and nobody noticed it.
Yeah, you could have only fired that dummy round to get that to happen. So somebody pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I don't remember what the scene was exactly that they were shooting earlier.
And when they unloaded that revolver, they didn't notice a projectile was missing. It was down in that barrel.
Yeah, that's where it was. It was lodged in there.
Because it makes no sound. I've done it before through hand loading, but I knew I was going to do it though. Go ahead.
So later on, when they were shooting the scene where, you know, Fun Boy is supposed to shoot Brandon Lee's character, Eric Draven, they loaded the gun with a blank, which is what they're supposed to, because he was going to fire right at him. Now, obviously, the blank doesn't have a bullet in it, but it does still contain explosive gas when you fire it.
It's a full powder charge.
So when the actor pulled the trigger, he was about 15 or 20 feet away from Brandon Lee. The force of the blank propelled the fragment that was already stuck in the barrel.
It was wasn't a fragment. It was a full bullet.
Yeah, well,
full 44 Magnum bullet. You got a 44 Magnum bullet down in that barrel, and you've got a full 44 Magnum fucking powder charge coming down that barrel behind it. It's going to push that barrel out. It's going to push that bullet out of the barrel at the normal velocity, which is like
so it was just like he shot him for real.
Just like a live round.
I said, it didn't matter that it was a blank. Round. It was just a real bullet.
Those two things together make a live round.
Yeah. So and that's what happened. So he effectively just shot him. Like he didn't mean to, obviously.
Killed him with a 44 Magnum blank.
So it actually hit him in the abdomen and lodged in his spine.
Yeah.
And at first, this is kind of sad too. I don't think he would have survived anyway. But at first, because the scene called for him to obviously fall to the ground because he's supposed to be shot, like fake, no one realized anything was wrong at first because they just thought, oh, well, he was doing what he was supposed to do, like in the scene, you know what I mean? But once they figured it out, they figured it out pretty quickly, and then they rushed him to the hospital and had emergency surgery. But unfortunately, he died from his injuries. Yeah. This was March 31st, 1993. as I said, he was
Very
28
unlikely.
years old. But yeah, shit happens.
Very unlikely to survive a center mass hit with a 44 Magnum revolver.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
So obviously the death was ruled accidental. They didn't fire any criminal charges against the actor because he had no way of knowing.
No, he was non.
He wasn't responsible. They just handed him the gun. It was supposed to have a blank in it. That's what he was supposed to do. You know, that's not his job.
Yeah.
To figure that out. However, the investigators did find serious safety failures surrounding the weapon and the person that was responsible for it. And OSHA actually imposed an $84,000 fine on the production at first, although it was reduced to $55,000 later on. So they did get fined, but no one went to jail or anything like that. Now, the movie, when he died, was almost finished. And so with the blessing of Brandon Lee's family, because they're like, you know, he was really into this movie, and it's just kind of like, we would really like to finish it, like to honor him. So they brought in a stunt double, who actually Chad Stahelski, who was actually many years later would become one of the directors of some of the John Wick movies, which I actually didn't know. He stood in for Brandon Lee, and then later they kind of digitally, and it took forever because this was the early 90s, but they did like early digital effects where they kind of like digitized his face or used other shots of him that hadn't been used that they had shot earlier, to, you know, kind of finish out the scenes or
you
whatever.
You can't tell anything's been done to
Yeah,
it.
you can't. Yeah, it looks normal. So actually, that's kind of the best use, I guess,
Yeah.
of digital effects is ones you don't notice. You don't really notice it.
And it's a good movie. I like The Crow.
It is.
The second one's not as good, but yeah, the first one's good.
So the movie came out in 1994, and obviously they dedicated it to Brandon Lee and his then fiancee, Eliza Hutton. Also, a lot of people thought it was creepy because, you know, obviously Bruce Lee, his dad, had also died unexpectedly. He was 32. Basically, that was just kind of like, didn't somebody give him an aspirin or something like that, and like he just died?
Yeah,
It was some weird shit like that.
Yeah, there was something.
It was some kind of weird allergy, or like somebody gave him some weird drugs.
I don't think it was ever really explained.
I don't think so either.
Bruce was a cool dude. He did a lot of good work in Hollywood. He was physically fit. He never really fought professionally, but he would have been pretty good at MMA, and he picked up some weight, got a ground game. He was good. He was an entertainer, though. People got to understand, you know, he was from Hong Kong theater. But he kind of was a legendary character in Hollywood, too. You know, he'd do at parties and stuff. I don't know if maybe they covered up his true cause of his death. I don't know. Maybe it was an injury. Maybe it was drugs. I don't know. Maybe he got his hand on some kind of drug that killed him. I don't, and they hid it. There's no way of knowing. Although he doesn't strike me as a regular drug user.
No, he doesn't seem like the type.
He wouldn't have been the type.
I mean, it's not there's necessarily a type, but
yeah, and that's not necessarily you're at a Hollywood party and somebody gives you something. And
yeah,
you got high and it killed you. You know, ecstasy or something. It might have been something that, you know, people got killed from that. And,
yeah,
you know, and that's
well, and you never know, like if the person got it from somewhere,
yeah,
and they don't know what it is, and they're just kind of like,
right.
Hey, I got this fun shit from somebody, want some? And you're just like, you don't know what the fuck it is.
It might have been some injury, some kind of weird chemical reaction between, like I said, some drugs he was taking, or it was maybe something kind of accidental. Maybe he got hands on ecstasy and danced and fucking died of dehydration. Maybe he was on diuretics, because a lot of guys who are into performance enhancing drugs, which he's pretty fucking lean, all right, he might have been doing some diuretics to piss out some water to look even fucking shredded.
And some like bodybuilders and stuff like that have died from that.
Yeah,
like from dehydration.
Yeah, being in that scene, because I've been in that scene too. I got steroid buddies and shit like that. The leading cause of death is, oh man, your heart. Nah, if you actually look at a lot of the autopsies, dehydration usually what gets them. And they fucking take a handful of fucking pills because they're on nandrolone. They try to piss out a bunch of water so they look shredded at the club. They're fucking drinking alcohol, pissing all that shit out. And all of a sudden they start going down from dehydration. The fucking paramedics show up and go, oh, he's a bodybuilder. He's dying of a heart attack. They start treating him of a heart attack and they kill him.
Because they don't know what it is.
They don't know. It's just dehydration. You put a fucking IV in him, saline IV in him, and he'll come right back too.
I feel like I was just reading about a guy that died like that not too long ago.
Yeah. Now there are heart trouble, but you got to fucking weigh a lot. You know, the human heart didn't fucking evolve to be power 300-pound man that's fucking all muscle. That's a lot of stress on your heart valves.
It is, yes.
Yeah. So there's limits to how big you should get. But dudes don't want to listen.
Well, that's par for the course, isn't
It's
it?
fun to get big, isn't it? Yeah, it's fun to get big. It's not fun to get small or die.
Yeah, dying is generally not fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
so
I never understood. I never understood. They want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Man, there's going to be a limit, and after that, you're going to get smaller, and that's not fun. Why don't
Well,
you
like I
just stay
said,
a
I
reasonable
don't
size?
really think they're thinking in the
Yeah,
long
they're not
term,
thinking about it.
or it's kind of like disordered thinking. Like I said, it's like an eating
It's
disorder.
like an eating disorder, yeah.
You know what I mean? Which doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
You know what I mean? But
Just slowly get bigger over time till you become an old man.
but people aren't logical.
Yeah.
I mean, some much less than others.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so since someone brought up Alec Baldwin, and since this case, which is, you know, a lot more recent, is actually pretty similar to what happened to Brandon Lee, we'll talk about this one next. So this was the movie Rust, which was a Western that had Alec Baldwin in it. And they were shooting it in October of 2021. And Alec Baldwin accidentally fired a live round from a prop gun on the set, which was in New Mexico. He killed the cinematographer, Helena Hutchins, and injured the director, Joel Souza.
Yeah.
Now, this was actually, they weren't even shooting a scene. It was a rehearsal. They were shooting at the Bonanza Creek Ranch near Santa Fe, and he was handed a Colt revolver that the person told him incorrectly, as it turned out, was a cold gun, meaning it should have no live rounds in it. That's the terminology that they use. However, the gun discharged a live bullet, so actually hit Hutchins in the chest and passed through the wound into the director. So Helena Hutchins later died from her injuries. Like I said, Souza survived, but he was shot too, like, because the bullet went through her and into him. Now, Alec Baldwin, he maintained that he was told the gun was safe. He was told it was a cold gun. And he said that he pulled the hammer back but didn't pull the trigger, which I think they later determined was false, that he had actually pulled the trigger. But the thing about it is it's not really, I mean, just like in the Brandon Lee case, if he was told by the person responsible for the firearm that it was a cold gun and it's fine, then it's not really on him. You know what I mean? I feel like I remember him being kind of a jerk about it, but I could be remembering that wrong.
Well, there's a couple mistakes he made. He pointed a weapon at somebody and pulled the trigger playing around. You never do that even playing around. It wasn't even. They weren't even filming at the time.
Yeah, it was a rehearsal.
It was in between stuff, and I would never do that even with a plastic gun. I just got too much respect for him. If I point a gun at you, I'm gonna kill you. Okay. Then he went through a bunch of denial.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't actually pull the trigger.
Yeah, he said that a lot.
That made him look even worse.
And they were just kind of like,
"Yeah, I pulled the trigger, but fucking they told me it was."
But they told me it was okay. I mean, he did say that too,
Yeah.
but like I said, it wasn't really his fault.
Right. And it was. It had something to do with the armorer. They had been shooting those guns with live rounds before, and for some reason or another, that particular gun was never vacated of all of its live rounds. It was probably like a single action Army Colt, and it's got a loading gate, and you got to fucking pull the hammer to I think it's a half cock position, and there's a way to, and then the cylinder doesn't swing out; it just revolves, and there's a loading gate. And then there's next to the barrel, there's a rod in there that you can't see. It's inside a shroud, and you pull it down, and it pops all the empty cases out. It's a pain in the ass to unload and load. It was before the time of swing out cylinders on revolvers. Somebody didn't fully unload that pistol.
Yeah, I think there's still like a lot of controversy about why exactly. However, I will note that the armorer on the film, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, she was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in 2024 and went to prison. I believe she was only sentenced to 18 months, if I'm remembering correctly. But she did get punished for it. Alec Baldwin was also charged with involuntary manslaughter. But the judge actually dismissed the case with prejudice in July 2024 after finding out that the prosecutors had withheld evidence.
It was almost kind of like a karma thing because he was in some kind of spat over social media calling somebody else a murderer around that time. And then like 2 weeks later, he killed somebody with a pistol on a set. And then evidently he turned to the crew and says, "Who's done this to me? Who did this to me?"
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin's a shithead.
Yeah,
He's
he's
an
been in some
asshole.
good movies and
He's an
TV shows
asshole,
and
yeah.
stuff, but he seems like a douche.
Oh, he's an asshole.
You know what I mean?
Huge ego, uh, just fake. You know, he's a fraud. A lot of actors are frauds. You know, they pretend for a living. I was an actor as a kid. You know, what I mean, fucking, they pretend for a living. They don't have any real skills outside that. They party, drink, and treat other people like shit. A lot of them. They got good ones, but you know, some are cool, but a lot of them aren't. Just the ones that hang around in fucking Hollywood, drinking bars and chasing fucking burnout hookers.
So even though he wasn't criminally convicted, I mean, obviously there's a fuck ton of civil lawsuits against him from various crew members, and you know he's having like a lot of legal fallout from it. Now they did finish the movie Rust, and they premiered it in late 2024, and then it got a wide release. Now the movie cost ultimately $8 million to make, and only grossed almost $27,000. And probably that was largely because of the notoriety from the shooting. Like everyone was like, fuck that guy, we're not going to see that movie. Could be just because it's a Western too, but I feel like other Westerns had come out and done pretty well. But I think that there was so much static about that shooting that everyone was like, fuck that movie.
And then they put all of it on the armorer. And the armorer was a young woman who was not experienced enough to have that fucking job.
I think her dad was like a famous armorer, and she like had learned from him, or she was his...
And they hired her because she was cheaper. They were trying to really cut costs on this, and she wasn't ready for that job. And they were dumb to hire her. You know, you just have to have a lot of discipline, and you have to understand
like
the
that,
way machines work.
You can't economize,
and you have to inspect everything.
Yeah,
that revolver had not been inspected.
You really can't, something like that where people's lives are at stake.
Yeah.
You really can't.
You got to go through it.
Yeah, you really can't cut corners.
We were an institution.
Because someone could die. See?
I came in a combat, the 101st Airborne Division in the infantry units. We were a fucking combat unit. It is an institution filled with live ammo and guns and rockets and fucking explosives. You have to know the condition of every weapon. If you see a weapon, that weapon is loaded until you've checked it. Then you know it's unloaded. Every weapon is loaded.
I mean, that's always the safest
loaded,
thing to assume.
Loaded. If you point a weapon at somebody, it's loaded. Even if it's unloaded, that bitch is loaded. Treat it as if it's loaded.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's gun safety 101. That's the first thing they teach you.
In this house, all guns are loaded. Because they are. If I'm grabbing it, it's because I need it. It's got to be loaded. But there's no children in here. There's no crazy people in here. Which is me.
Well, except I was gonna say except you.
But yeah, there aren't any children in here, and fucking, and I know where everything is, and it's all guns are loaded.
Zach says it's also sad because I saw screen grabs from that movie. I guess he's talking about Rust, and it actually looked pretty beautiful. Like that girl did some fantastic work as the cinematographer, and also no one saw it. Yeah, like I said, I can understand why people were like, "Fuck that movie" because of what happened on it, and Alec Baldwin being such a douchebag about it. So people were just like, we're not going to go see it. And they didn't. So it didn't even make $1 million. It didn't even make $250,000. It didn't make $1/10 of $1 million. It made like nothing. You know what I mean?
They were cheaping out on a movie that didn't make any money and it cost somebody. Well,
I
don't put it on the girl. The girl just wasn't ready for that job. They should have never hired her.
Yeah, like I said.
He endangered her.
Yeah. It was just a stupid shit all around.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't try to cheap out on shit like that where people's lives are at stake, okay? Especially not just for a fucking movie. It's just a movie. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about, this one, I feel like maybe this one's slightly lesser known, but maybe not. Maybe this one's kind of better known, because this movie was from the early 80s. It was from 1981. And this is a movie called Roar. Now, hilariously, there's a title card at the beginning of this movie, which I have seen. I haven't seen the whole thing straight through, but I've seen like pretty significant portions of it. So it has a thing at the beginning saying no animals were harmed during production. Notably, it does not say that no humans were harmed during production, because a lot of them were. So this movie came out in 1981, and it was kind of a passion project. So the guy that was the producer and director of it was Noah Marshall. And his wife, Tippi Hedren, famous from The Birds, and their whole idea was they kept big cats, like in real life, and they wanted to make a movie celebrating big cats and demonstrating that humans could coexist peacefully with like lions and tigers and stuff. Ironically, this movie ended up proving almost the exact opposite. So yeah, so in this movie, which I don't even know if I don't remember it having much of a plot per se. But so the whole thing about this movie was it's not a documentary. I think it's fictionalized, but it's kind of documentary like, at least from what I remember. So they decided to do like they're going to surround themselves and their children with this enormous collection of actual big cats. Now these animals were not movie animals as in, carefully rehearsed, trained with trainers there and everything like that. These were just their cats that they had at their compound, right? Like they essentially lived with this family at their compound, like in California. There's a bunch of lions and tigers and shit. And there was over 100 of them, like on this movie set. So the basic story, if you want to call it that, of this movie is this family shows up at this remote house and it's filled with lions and tigers and a bunch of other animals. And so large portions of the movie involve the actors kind of genuinely attempting to just like live their lives with all these fucking lions and tigers like around the fucking house. And so you quickly start to notice that they're like, wow, all of this shit looks really realistic. Like these cats are like knocking people over, they're like chasing people. Wow, some of that blood looks like actual blood, because it is. Melanie Griffith, who was Tippi Hedren's daughter, and obviously this is her family, so she's got roped into this movie too. She got mauled near the eye and had to have facial surgery. Tippi Hedren had a bunch of injuries during the production, and got gangrene and had to get skin grafts because of all the cats like biting her and stuff. Noel Marshall, the director, was attacked repeatedly and also got blood poisoning. Cinematographer on this, who I didn't realize, Jan de Bont, who actually went on to direct Speed and Twister and many other things. He actually had part of his scalp torn off by a lion. And had to have like 120 stitches.
Yeah.
I think.
When did this movie come out?
81.
I remember this movie.
Yeah.
It's an African movie, right?
No, it's shot in no, it's California.
It's shot in California. It's one that had the lions just everywhere, right?
Yeah, because it was this family. It was Tippi Hedren and her husband and Melanie Griffith, who was her daughter. Their family had a compound and they had a bunch of big cats.
Yeah,
and the whole reason that they wanted to make this movie was to show that people and cats could coexist. And I'm just like, evidently not. You know what I mean?
No, they were cool. I remember seeing bits.
But
they were cool, but they hurt you accidentally just playing with you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, some of them like did. Okay, so
someone would grab you.
At least 70 members of the cast and crew were injured.
Yeah.
Maybe higher. That's like on the low end of the scale. And some people had like fucking PTSD from it for many years afterward.
They could probably get along with regular people, but they had those new people in there because the cats didn't like that, didn't they?
Well, yeah, I'm not really sure like what they thought. Like maybe if it was just like a little family and they interacted with the cats all the time, like the cats
probably cool.
But then they bring in all this like camera crews and all these new people. The cats are probably like freaking out. They're just like,
they're like,
because cats don't really like. They like
invaders.
routine.
Yeah, routine.
And if their routine is disrupted, they get very upset. And obviously, if you have like little bitty cats like we have, like they can't really do much to you if they get upset.
A big cat would.
But a big lion can just like eat your face off.
And they're territorial. You're in their territory. So you've
exactly.
invaded. They should have never done that. That's just dumb.
Yeah, it was a spectacularly dumb idea. And I don't even think the movie even did all that well. I mean, I think it became infamous for all the attacks that happened on it and all the people that got hurt on it.
And even a person that has basic understanding of cat behavior from house cats would know that, no, that wouldn't work. You're now introducing an entire film crew into that. No, into that. The cats are going to see that as an attack.
Yeah, it's like, who the fuck are all these snacks that have just wandered into my
these aren't supposed to be here. This isn't my family.
Yeah.
These aren't my humans. Why are they here?
So, so I feel like, and the production, obviously, because of all the injuries and stuff, like, took such a long time. Like, it was, like, super delayed and everything like that. And I think, like I said, it didn't even, like, do that well when it came out. And, like I said, the kind of funny, ironic thing about this movie is that the whole reason that they made it was because, oh, well, these cats shouldn't be treated as monsters or, shouldn't be feared or anything like that. But then it seemed like the movie and like all the
Yeah.
production stories behind it was like giving like almost the opposite argument.
Yeah.
Because so many people, it's got their scalps torn off and all
Yeah,
this other
well,
kind
yeah.
of shit.
If
These are wild animals, you
they're
don't.
wild animals, so
They're not trained.
You can have a relationship with a wild animal and it won't hurt you. You get along with it. The thing is, the cats don't know you.
Yeah. And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And like I said, these aren't, I feel like technically, and bad shit can still happen even with trained Hollywood animals.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because there are some animals that, will be in movies and they have trainers and it's like the trainer's always there and they do particular things and it's generally safer. But even then, like that animal could get a hair across the crack of their ass one day
Yeah.
and like decide he's going to like tear someone's arm off. You never
Yeah.
know. But
watched
in this, these were not trained cats. They were just cats that this family had on their
They lived on
compound,
property, yeah.
and they lived on the property. And like I said, they were probably fine with the family.
Yeah.
But then maybe there was all this disruption because they were doing this big long movie shoot, and the cats didn't like it, and were whether they did the shit on purpose. I mean, some of it definitely seemed like they did on
Yeah.
purpose because they were like chasing people and stuff.
Even those Russian guys that have those bears, they're very cool with these huge bears, and they'll have people come over and they'll take a picture with the bear. That's the bear's job, and they'll say that taking care of those bears is a full-time thing. You know what I mean? They're like a member of the family. And they were saying it's so good with people, and he goes, yeah, but that's because I'm here. So that
yeah,
he
it's
was saying
still a
that-
wild animal.
Said that yeah, if because he knows that you're safe because you're with me. It's just you wouldn't really be safe if a random person just walked in here with these bears. Because the bear doesn't know you.
Yeah. And I feel like that probably is what
Yeah.
happened on this situation.
So he has to introduce the bear to you, introduce you to the bear, and the bear because the bear goes, okay, he's vouching, okay, you're good. Yeah, but those the Russian guy said that he wouldn't trust those bears around people without him there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's still a wild animal.
He says they're a bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can't blame wild animals for doing
Right.
wild animal shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't know any better. Speaking of lions, here was just kind of a little brief one that I found, and I said, oh, here's another one with lions, so I'm just going to add this little short thing. This was actually an old movie. This was 1927, and this is a movie called The King of the Jungle. And there was a British-born actor named Gordon Standing, who was a silent film, obviously, and he was actually mauled by a lion on the set of this silent film. It was actually a serial, so it was like a serialized film, and he ended up dying from his injuries the following day. This attack happened in May 1927. He died on May 21st. Now, interestingly, his friend, Elmo Lincoln, who was also in the movie, who was the first actor to play Tarzan, like in the movies, it stressed him out so much, like his death, like stressed him out so much that he retired from acting for like 10 years. Like he was like so upset by it. So interestingly, this entire movie, like I said, was a 10-chapter serial. It's considered a lost film, like only the theatrical trailer survives. But the stories about it obviously persisted because the guy like got killed by a lion, because like I said, they didn't really, even back, really didn't have any like safety kind of measures or anything like that. Okay, so let's talk about William Friedkin again. We discussed him a little bit when we were talking about The Exorcist and how he really likes everything to be realistic and doesn't really particularly care all that much, like how much the actors have to go through, you know what I'm saying? So let's talk about his movie Sorcerer. Now, so he had obviously made The French Connection and The Exorcist, which were hugely successful. And so for his next project, he wanted to do something kind of, big, really ambitious. So he decided to do an adaptation of George Arnaud's novel, The Wages of Fear. And the novel is about a bunch of dudes, like, transporting all of these really unstable explosives through, kind of unforgiving terrain, right? So the movie that he ended up making, which was not called The Wages of Fear, it had been adapted before, and I believe it was called The Wages of Fear, but his was called Sorcerer. And so the movie follows like 4 dudes driving trucks loaded with kind of deteriorating dynamite across all of these primitive jungle roads. And if the trucks kind of jolt really violently, then the trucks will explode. So it's kind of like Speed, you know what I mean? With the bus, like it can't go beneath 50 miles an hour or whatever the fuck. But it's just kind of like, or kind of, I know this is kind of out of left field, but if you're an MST fan and you saw whatever that movie was that they made based on the Gemini Man, where they had like the episode where there was that blue explosive fluid, tropolidine or whatever it was called, and if you jolted it, it would explode, and it was like in the back of this semi truck. And like he had it like in a sling and shit like that, and people were trying to hold it so it wouldn't like blow up. That's it. Kind of reminded me of that too. So William Friedkin, being a stickler for realism, as I said, he wanted the audience to physically feel how dangerous this mission was, right? So he wanted as much of what was going to happen, like what happened on screen, like to actually happen or like exist. And that included this suspension bridge this amazing suspension bridge that they made for the movie. So the production designer, whose name was John Box, him and his team built a full-scale suspension bridge over a river in the Dominican Republic. It took about 3 months to build it, and cost about $1 million. After they finished building it, or when they were almost done building it, the river dried up. Because, there was like a drought. And so by the time that William Friedkin was going to shoot the sequence of this, these explosive trucks going across this scary suspension bridge, he has this awesome looking suspension bridge and no fucking water underneath it. He's like, that doesn't look dangerous anymore because it's like there's no river. Like it all dried up, right? So anyone else, I feel like, would have maybe like rethought the sequence. Maybe maybe we can shoot it a different way, or maybe we could figure something else out. William Friedkin decided he was gonna move the whole ass fucking bridge, is what he decided to do. So the team dismantled this whole bridge that they had spent 3 months building, took it to Mexico, and built it again over another river. And then that river started drying up too. Like I said, droughts. And at this point, they're like, fuck it, we're not moving this bridge again. So then they started like faking the weather. They would just kind of had like sprinklers and pumps and all this other kind of stuff to kind of make it look like there was a river and like all this, thunderstorms and rain and stuff. This bridge sequence took like months to film and cost millions of dollars, and they went way over budget. Trucks kept falling in the water, and then they would have to like start over. And then meanwhile, the jungle they were filming in was also fucking with everybody on the crew. Like a bunch of crew members got various injuries, illnesses, food poisoning, malaria, gangrene. I think William Friedkin also got malaria. Like on this fucking, was it worth it, bro? I don't know. And like so many people like had to leave the production because they got injured or they had disease or whatever. This movie ended up costing more than $20 million, which in the mid 70s was like a ridiculous amount of money. Like it was supposed to actually cost like way less than that. And so after all of that, William Friedkin finally finished the movie and he goes to release it, and then Star Wars came out. Sorcerer opened about a month after Star Wars. And, obviously everybody and their mama went to see Star Wars, but William Friedkin, he's like, oh, I have a movie about four sweaty guys driving explosive trucks across a bridge, like in, in the mud. And nobody wanted to see it. And it completely bombed. After all of that. You know what I mean? So like I said, was it worth it? No. But I do kind of feel like as time went on, this was one of those movies that like bombed spectacularly at the time, but over the years, like it got like a critical reassessment and is now actually considered one of William Friedkin's best movies.
Mango Badger says it's one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah, and it's just like, and that bridge sequence, I mean, as much of a shit show as it was filming it, is like, easily the most talked about like scene in the movie, and it looks spectacular. So in the long run, I guess it ended up being worth it. And at least nobody died on this one that we know of, although a lot of people did get diseases and various other things. But yeah, rebuilding the whole bridge because the river dried up, and then the second river also dried up. That's like very funny to me. I mean, sure, it wasn't funny for the people working on the movie, though. Now, the next movie, nobody died on this one either, but this was also a huge shit show, and that was The Abyss. Now, James Cameron, I saw a thing that said this was probably the most James Cameron experience of like any movie. he never wants to make anything. He always wants to go big. You know what I mean? And like I said, he also, like William Friedkin, has a thing for realism, actors be damned kind of thing.
This is that underwater movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've seen it, and I never.
I saw it in the theater.
I get it confused with a bunch of other underwater movies.
Well, a bunch of underwater movies came out around this time. Yeah. I think this was kind of the best one, if I remember correctly, but I haven't seen it for a while. I saw it in the theater, and then I saw it again. Like,
so the one with the mutant fish, was it?
Mutant fish.
Yeah, the Russian ship that had the mutant fish.
No, that was what the fuck was the name of that one? Leviathan.
Leviathan, that's right.
We just reviewed that one not too long ago. This was better. This was better than Leviathan.
Okay.
So this movie, it's a sci-fi movie. It came out in '89, and the movie takes place mostly in an underwater drilling facility. And because James Cameron wanted the actors to look like they were really underwater, what easier way to do that than to make them actually be underwater instead of just simulating it? Because a lot of underwater movies would just simulate it with, like, they would shoot it really dark and foggy and shit like that, and then you'd kind of walk funny so it looked like you're under the water. You know what I mean? That's how they'd usually do it, because it's kind of dangerous, like, to shoot underwater for long, and it's a pain in the ass, like, for long periods of time. But of course, like I said, he can't do anything nice and easy, right? Like, he has to do everything the hard way. So he's like, so we need a big giant underwater movie set, like that, on a scale that really had never been seen before. So they found this place in Gaffney, South Carolina, and it was an abandoned nuclear power facility. Like, they had kind of built it or half built it, and then they abandoned it. You know what I mean? So they had this massive, like, containment structure. And so they converted this into this huge filming tank and filled it with like 8 million gallons of water. So all of the actors and a bunch of the crew members had to become scuba certified, because he's like, we're serious, we're filming this shit underwater. And then they filmed a large portion of the movie underwater.
In a cold ass, dark water, big ass fucking tank.
10 hours a day.
Spooky ass tank. It's probably.
They said they estimated that during one particular stretch where they were filming, like, a lot of underwater scenes, they burned through more than 10,000 air tanks.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Because of all the people. Now,
wonder if that rag your lungs out.
Probably.
Breathing that shit, dry ass shit.
So aside from all of the logistics of filming so much stuff underwater, there was also kind of the water itself, which was causing other kind of problems. So because they were supposed to be super deep under the water, right? And I mean, it's a tank, so it's not, miles under it's not the Marianas Trench or anything. So what they had to do for it to appear dark was that you didn't want to get any reflections or any sunlight, like, coming in through the water, like from above, right? So they had these little black, like, polypropylene beads to put across the surface so, like, light couldn't get through, right? And the beads would, like, get into people's mouths and their noses and their ears and shit like that. Shit was just everywhere. Also, the water, they had to have a huge amount of chlorine in it to keep this big tank sanitary, because it's 8 million gallons of water, right? You can't have, like, mold and shit like that growing in there, or algae. But the chlorine evidently wasn't enough, because people still kept getting infections from various things that were growing in the water. And not only that, but the chlorine was so strong that it bleached people's clothes, it bleached their hair and their eyebrows and all this other kind of shit, because all those chemicals that were in the water. And then the big covering over the tank got damaged. I think it got struck by lightning. There's more lightning strikes, if I remember correctly. And so after that, they're like, well, fuck it. Now we have to shoot at night. Like, so, because, the top was fucked up and they couldn't afford to fix it, I'm assuming. So it's like, well, if we shoot at night, we don't have to worry about light coming in through the thing. So now they had to shoot overnight underwater. It's cold in there. Everyone was completely miserable. So much so that most of the cast and crew started calling the movie not The Abyss, but The Abuse. That's what they started calling it. Ed Harris, one of the main actors in the movie, very famously almost drowned. Like, he was in his thing. He was in the suit, I think, and his air supply fucked up, and he panicked. Like, he legit thought he was drowning, and he probably was, I imagine. He panicked underwater, believed his life was in danger. They did manage to save him, however. There was also a scene, like a pretty famous scene, where Ed Harris is attempting to revive Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio's character, and he's trying to revive her because she's supposedly drowned. So he's, he's kind of smacking her and like, trying to breathe into her mouth and all this other stuff. And they'd been shooting the scene take after take after take after take. And Ed Harris says, he's like, so we're shooting the scene and I'm smacking her face and like doing all this other, and we're fucking exhausted and tired. It's the middle of the night. We're soaking wet. And he's like, and I look up and I notice that the camera has run out of film and nobody has said anything. He's like, because you can tell there's like a light on there, you know what I mean? And he's like, and nobody says cut, nobody says anything like that. And basically they were like, fuck this. They said Mary Elizabeth Antonio, when she found that out, she just got up and she said, we are not animals. And she just walked the fuck out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was the end?
I mean, they did finish the movie because obviously it came out. But, I guess they had a come to Jesus moment, or they talked about it because she was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, it's not even, you're not even filming it. And he's just smacking the shit out of me. And it's like, no one's saying cut or anything like that. She was just really pissed off about it. You know what I mean? So yeah, they did finish the movie. Like I said, it's a good movie, at least from what I can remember. But, at least from what I saw, like little snippets of Ed Harris and various other people who worked on the movie, not a great experience. They were like, yeah, we're not doing that shit again. Like I said,
I don't think I've seen the movie.
Like I said, nobody died or anything, but it sounded like it was a miserable experience for all involved. Let's talk a little bit about Maximum Overdrive.
Oh shit!
Now this is kind of,
Jen likes this movie actually.
Well, I've said this before.
On
one of my Stephen King things on my blog that I was talking about. I said I like Maximum Overdrive almost like the same way that people that like wrestling, why they like wrestling. Yeah. Because it's big, loud, and stupid, but it's not pretending to be anything but that.
I rented that shit with a bunch of other movies, and I think I had it in there for like maybe 20 minutes. I had to take it out and put something else in there. I never completed it. I was like, nah, it's just.
I think it is very silly.
It's just too fucking.
But
silly.
I think it's kind of entertaining.
I didn't like it.
I didn't know they actually the story that it's based on, the Stephen King story, is called Trucks, and I didn't know this, but they have made another adaptation of it. Like, I don't remember when it came out, but it's more recent-ish. I mean, because this movie came out in '86, right? Like Maximum Overdrive. But somebody did do an adaptation of Trucks. I haven't seen it. I have never heard anybody talking about it, so I'm assuming it's not any good, or it's just like forgettable because I've never seen anybody bring it up. But yeah. So if you've never seen Maximum Overdrive or read Stephen King's story Trucks, like the whole premise of the story is machines like mysteriously coming to life and attacking human beings. Like they're getting back at us, you know what I mean, for being assholes or whatever the hell. I don't know. I don't even remember if there was a explanation. Was it a comet? I don't even know. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
It was so dumb. I couldn't
get to it. And so during the filming of the movie, funnily enough, one of the machines did actually seriously injure someone. Didn't kill them, thankfully, but it did kind of fuck them up. So now Maximum Overdrive, as most people know, is the only feature film that Stephen King ever directed. There's a good reason for that. So I feel like Stephen King at this point in his career, he had watched other filmmakers adapt his work, and he's like, I'm gonna do one myself. So he decides to adapt his film Trucks, or his story Trucks, into this movie. And he ended up making, like I said, this really loud, bizarre horror action comedy movie, like with AC/DC on the soundtrack. For some, he loves AC/DC and the Ramones. You know what I mean? He's into that. Now, as most people are aware, and as Stephen King himself has admitted, to be fair, he was really coked up when he made this movie. And the hilarious thing is, I still very vividly remember, it wasn't really a trailer. It was just kind of like him talking about Maximum Overdrive, like before it came out, like trying to hype people up. So it was kind of like a commercial. And he looked really coked up in that fucking thing. And it was the 80s. I was like 14. And I was like, is he coked up right now? You know what I mean? And I didn't even know what that really looked like. But wow, holy cow. But yeah, he was also like a real bad alcoholic, which most people know. But cocaine is, yeah, if you've never seen this movie, cocaine explains it like pretty adequately, I think. So yeah, but he's like, so not only was I completely coked up, but this was the first movie I'd ever directed, and I really didn't have any idea what I was doing. Like, I think he just wanted to do it because how hard could it be, right? You know what I mean? So, like I said, because this movie is about machines coming to life, essentially, and taking revenge on humans, it's kind of ironic that there was this one scene, and if you've seen the film, you remember it. There's a sequence that involves a lawnmower, and obviously it was remote controlled because it was supposed to be like moving around by itself, right? So the cinematographer, his name was Armando Nanuzzi, he had positioned his camera like really, really low to the ground so he could get the mower coming, so it would look like it was really, really big, right? Like I said, you'll remember the shot. Now the camera was actually supported by these wooden wedges, like underneath that on the ground. Now, safety equipment, like the safety, what do they call that thing? Like the shield thing on the lawnmower, had to remove it so that you could see the blade spinning. Because, like I said, that would be obviously much scarier. If you're just seeing the guard thing come toward you, it was like big fucking deal, right? You want to see the blade. So they took that thing off. And they had also modified the lawnmower so that it would move faster toward the camera. You can see where this is going, I'm sure. So during the shot, like the lawnmower is moving faster than they expected, even though they knew it was supposed to move faster. And the blade of it, which was exposed, like hit one of the wooden supports on the camera. And the wood shattered into pieces. One of the splinters from the wood shot directly into the cinematographer's face and fucked up his right eye, which was his shooting eye. He's a cinematographer.
Mm-hmm.
So that essentially, it was permanent. It was permanent damage.
Damn.
So that kind of fucked up his career. Like he was kind of, I don't know if he was completely blind, but his eye was so fucked up that he couldn't, yeah. So he probably, understandably, sued Stephen King and a bunch of the companies that had to do with the production. And they eventually reached a settlement, which I think was almost $1 million. Like it was $975,000 or something like that. And like I said, Stephen King never directed another feature film. I don't know if it was just because of that, or I'm sure it was like a myriad of reasons. But I'm sure that didn't help.
I remember it being worse than Lawnmower Man.
No, Lawnmower Man was way worse.
I thought it was worse than that.
Well, Lawnmower Man, the thing about Lawnmower Man is that
one either.
It doesn't have fuck all to do with the story at all. Like it's just about like I don't really know. You can tell that, and Stephen King sued to have his name taken off it because he's like, that's not, it's still called Lawnmower Man, which is the name of a story that he wrote, but it doesn't have anything to do with the original story at all. So, it's like about fucking virtual reality or something. I'm like, what? That doesn't, yeah, that's nothing to do with anything. I feel like what happened was there was a screenplay going around that somebody wanted to make that was about some kind of virtual reality thing. And then somebody said, well, we can't make this because there's no brand recognition. What if we glom it onto a Stephen King story and like give it some little whiff of similarity, which it doesn't really have, honestly, except for the main guy being like kind of slow or whatever, right? Or special needs or whatever. I don't remember. But yeah, it's like a virtual reality movie. It's just, it doesn't make any sense at all. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember it being like insufferably bad. Whereas Maximum Overdrive, it's bad, but I can sit through it. You know what I mean? Because it's actually kind of funny, like, and fun how bad it is. Whereas Lawnmower Man was just bafflingly terrible. So this movie here, I did not know about this story, and this one, the thing about this one is that this was a sad story, but it's not quite as tragic as some of the others because it was an accident, but it didn't need to happen, and this one I'm kind of going to put on the stuntman, okay? And you'll see why in a second. So the movie was called Steel, and this happened in the 1970s. So the stuntman in question was named A.J. Bakunis. And the thing about this one is that he was kind of a big, kind of emerging stunt performer in the 1970s, and his specialty was really spectacular, like high falls. Like if you needed a dude to like fall off like a 20-story building, his was your man. You know what I mean? You know, because they didn't have digital effects back then. It's the 70s. They didn't have CGI or anything like that. So if you wanted a shot of somebody falling off a building, you either threw a dummy off the building, which looks really shitty, or you got a stuntman to do it. And so basically what they would do is they would jump into like essentially like a huge airbag. That was kind of what they did. Now, AJ Bakunis, he had previously set a high fall record. And while they were involved in the shooting of this movie, Steel, there was a rival stuntman named Dar Robinson who broke his record. 286 feet was the new record. And so when he started working on Steel, which had Lee Majors and George Kennedy in it, and it was shooting in Kentucky, he was like George Kennedy's double, and he had to fall off this building. And so he did the stunt. He jumped off the building, and it was fine, and it was in the can. Like the stunt looked really good. But then he thought, well, hey, this other stuntman broke my high fall record. And since we have all the stuff set up,
let's do it. Yeah.
I want to break his record.
Yeah.
And guess what happened?
He died.
He fucking died.
Yeah.
But that was, well, see, this is what was sad. It didn't need to happen. They already had the shot. Yeah. It was beautiful. He had done the stunt successfully. He was fine. And from a slightly lower height. And it looked fantastic. And he just wanted to do it again just because of his ego, I guess.
And wait, how many feet did he have to add onto the jump?
I'm not sure. I think, well, if you're breaking a record, I think it just has to be, an extra foot or two. I don't know.
Yeah, but how many feet on that jump?
I think the height. I think where he jumped from. I think it was 315 feet.
So he had to add what now?
No, I think the jump that he made was 315
and then
feet.
What was the record?
The record that the other guy made was 286 feet.
Oh, okay. So he already broke the dude's record.
No. Okay. The jump he had done before was less than 286 feet. The one for the movie.
Okay.
And then another stuntman jumped from 286 feet, which had broken a record, like that he had done previously. So he said, while we have everything set up, I'm going to jump from higher so I can break the record again. Mm-hmm. So he jumped from, I believe, 315 feet.
All right.
So it was...
Did he blow off course?
No, what happened was it was an unfinished skyscraper. This was in 1978. And they had set up the big inflatable airbag thing on the bike. You've seen them, right? Those big, huge airbag things. And he did everything correctly. Like he jumped, he hit the bag, but the problem was the bag either split or collapsed under the force of his jump or something. So it basically deflated when he landed on it It didn't
slow him down.
It didn't slow him down. So he hit the ground from 315 feet jumping off a building, and got obviously massive internal injuries, and he died the next day.
He must have
27 years old.
Must have slowed him down some. Yeah.
I don't even know. Like I said, I don't know if it had a slit in it but they said it just deflated like as soon as he hit it. So, and I believe that
the thing didn't pass inspection.
But the thing about it is, I believe
got damaged in the first jump.
Yeah, I don't know, because it had worked successfully the first time. I don't know how long a time was in between the first jump that he made that was successfully filmed, that I assume eventually showed up in the movie, and the ego jump that he did that wasn't being filmed. So I don't know how much time elapsed like between those two incidents.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the same bag.
Well, it was the same day, right?
No, I just said I don't know how long was in between. I just said that.
Well, you said it was set up though.
No, but
set up. So let's break.
I'm not sure if that's what happened. I'm just saying. Well, since we're on the set, so it might have been a few days. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I would think it'd be the same day.
But it might have been the same day. Yeah. I don't know. So it could have been like I didn't really see any of that information. So I'm just saying I don't know.
It made sense that it would be the same day.
You would think, because everything was
set up.
Already set up.
You just got to go walk up there and deflate it and
do it again.
Yeah.
But that ended up killing him. So like I said, ego, it'll kill you.
Bag must have been damaged.
Well, yeah, that's what they're assuming, because they said it just deflated. It didn't even slow him down at all. You know what I mean? John Gore says, "Isn't Pierce Brosnan in Lawnmower Man?" Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah.
And John Gore says, "Isn't that one of those Faces of Death compilations? Like Bakunis like falling off the It might be. I haven't seen one in such a long time. It's very possible it could be. Yeah, that's like fucked up. So the movie was eventually finished and released in 1979, and obviously it's dedicated to him. But like I said, the shot they used in the movie that turned out fine. He didn't need to do it again, and he just did. So
how many stories is that?
315 feet. I don't know. How many feet is a story generally? 10 to 12 feet?
Maybe, yeah.
Something like that. I don't know offhand. So this movie here, now this was one that, because I feel like a lot of these movies, even if horrible accidents happened on them, they did usually finish them. This one they didn't, and this is more recent. So this was a movie called Midnight Rider, and this was supposed to be a biographical film about Greg Allman, the musician, and William Hurt was playing him. Now, in February of 2014, the crew goes to Georgia, and they go to this railroad trestle in Doctortown, which I guess is kind of well known in the area, over the Altamaha River, I guess is how you pronounce it. And they were gonna do, I don't even think they were filming, I think they were just doing a camera test, like for this dream sequence that they were shooting. So in this dream sequence, like William Hurt as Greg Allman was supposed to be lying in a hospital bed, and the hospital bed is on the railroad tracks. Now, these railroad tracks, however, were active railroad tracks. And the railroad company, which was called CSX, had actually not authorized the production to film there. So somebody fucked up somewhere or something. Or they just thought they were going to take their chances with it. I don't know. Apparently, CSX had actually denied permission to get on the railroad tracks, like on the trestle where they were trying to get on it, and that the film crew was just like adamant and they were going to do it anyway. Now, while the crew was working on the trestle, somebody realized, hey, a train is coming, which will generally happen now and again when you're on a railroad trestle. The train was moving at about 60 miles an hour. And by the time they realized it, I mean, trains go fast, they had less than a minute to get themselves and the equipment off the bridge. And they're on a trestle, so it's not like it's easy to get off of. So people just basically started running like hell, as you would. Now, the hospital bed, which was made of metal and was kind of heavy, they couldn't carry it out of the way because they were just like, we got to get the fuck off here, like right now, like there's a train coming. And so they left it, and the train hit it. So the crew members like kind of scattered toward the sides of the trestle, which were really narrow. And unfortunately, a 27-year-old camera assistant named Sarah Jones was struck and killed. Several other crew members were injured. I'm not sure if she was struck by the train or by the bed that the train hit. You know what I mean? Like the what do you call it? What's the word that I'm looking for?
I don't know. The bed.
No, the
canopy.
No, what's it called when you hit something and something like fragments?
Debris.
Yeah. No. Well, yeah, that'll do. Okay, that's not the word I was looking for, but it's something like that. So yeah, so one, they shouldn't have been on the trestle when they didn't have permission, and obviously, you know, a train came along, and but it sucks that happened. And basically the crew members later on, like they started, and really through the whole industry really started using the phrase "safety for Sarah," like so they're, you know, trying to get something good out of the tragedy, I guess. But the investigators into the incident obviously did not treat this as some kind of did not really treat it as accidental, because they said, you guys were not authorized to be on this railroad property. You had repeatedly been denied access to this area, and you were filming here anyway. So the production got like a bunch of safety citations, like from OSHA and other what do you call it? I'm forgetting words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm getting old sucks. Yeah. Getting old sucks. I can't remember words anymore. Now the director, Randall Miller, eventually pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and criminal trespassing, and got 10 years. But he only served 1 year in jail, and then he got out, but he was on probation and was not allowed to make any films like in that time period. Interestingly, like after his probation was over, like in 2024, I believe, his conviction got cleared from the record for some reason in 2025. I guess Georgia has something called the First Offender Act.
Yeah, after 10 years upon completion of sentence, usually they get.
Yeah, so that's what
most of the South is like that.
So it's like, so it doesn't like obviously he still entered a guilty plea and he still served the sentence, but it's, you know, now it's kind of been, the conviction's been like expunged. And because of this accident, like I said, which wasn't really an accident, it kind of was, they actually never finished the movie. They just abandoned it. Now, as Granther said earlier that nobody died on a Tom Cruise movie, I was like, wrong. You're wrong. The original Top Gun. Now, obviously the original Top Gun, the whole thing was about aerial photography, right? This was the 1986 Top Gun, not Top Gun Maverick. Although I think somebody did die. I don't think they died on the set, but I think they died. One of the pilots died during training or something like that, I heard. But this is the original Top Gun. Now, this stuntman, his name was Art Scholl, and he was actually one of the most well-known aerobatic pilots and was an aerial cameraman. He had worked on a bunch of different movies and TV shows and shit like that. So in September of 1985, Art Scholl was flying his pit special off Southern California, and he was shooting material for Top Gun because, like I said, he was an aerial photographer and he was also like a pilot. And the maneuver, like what he was trying to, the shot he was trying to get, he was intentionally putting the aircraft into a spin so, you know, the cameras could get the movement, right? So he enters the spin and he couldn't come out of it. The scary thing was that you can hear him on the radio. Like, he doesn't sound super panicked or anything, but the first thing he says is, I think I have a problem or something like that. And then like a couple minutes later, he says, I really have a problem.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. And that's like the last thing he said. So people were on the ground, like they watched it and the plane just kept going down and he should have pulled up like he was supposed to pull up. And obviously he did not.
He was in a flat spin.
Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of plane was it?
It was a pit special.
A what special?
A Pitts special. That's what it says.
Must be a propeller plane.
I'm not sure. Like I said, he was filming aerial footage for Top Gun. And so shortly after his last radio transmission, the aircraft disappeared into the Pacific several miles offshore. They never found the plane and they never found his body. And they were never really able to figure out like why he lost control. He had done that maneuver like lots and lots of times. Like I said, he was very experienced.
Mechanical failure.
I don't really know.
Putting the plane into spin puts
nobody
a lot of stress
knows.
on the
It
structure.
does.
Something broke.
It must have been.
Something went wrong with the control surface. He got a problem.
But it just goes to show that even someone as experienced as that, who has done the same thing a million times, it's like there can always be like that one little thing that you don't foresee that goes wrong.
The plane couldn't deliver.
Yeah.
Something with the control surfaces went wrong.
Yeah. And they never found the plane. I think the most they found of it was like a couple pieces of debris, but they never found the plane.
And there was no way he could have bailed out.
And they never found him. No.
Probably didn't have a parachute or anything.
I don't imagine so. So someone actually did die on while filming the original Top Gun, which actually I didn't know that until I was researching this show. So there you go. Now, The Dark Knight. So when people think about The Dark Knight, they obviously think about Heath Ledger, who died. He died like after the movie came out, right?
Got high and he died.
But somebody actually died while making the movie itself and kind of gets forgotten about, sadly, because of Heath Ledger. This guy was named Conway Wycliffe. He was a special effects technician. He was 41 years old. And he was working on like a vehicle sequence in England for The Dark Knight in 2007. He was riding in the back of a Nissan 4x4, and he was operating the camera that was filming another stunt vehicle that was next to it. You know what I mean? So he's like shooting from over here. Now, during a test run, I think this was the rehearsal. I don't think they were shooting it. The 4x4 missed a turn, like it didn't go around the turn all the way, and hit a tree, and he died, like essentially at the scene. So, like I said, I kind of feel like a lot of people remember Heath Ledger dying, but this dude actually died while they were shooting the movie. It does have a memorial to him at the end, like along with Heath Ledger, but I feel like a lot of people don't notice that. Another movie that I've seen a million times and didn't realize had terrible things happen on it was The Cannonball Run. Although now that I'm thinking back about it, it's like, yeah, it'd be shocking if something bad didn't happen on that movie because it was about like, crazy car chases and shit. So Cannonball Run came out in 1981, and it's a comedy. with car chases, celebrities, big stunts, stuff like that.
I think that was a Southern movie coming out of Tennessee, I think.
Yeah,
Nashville. It was one of those Nashville movies that had
shrapnel. That was the movie I was trying. That was the word I was trying to think of.
Shrap. Okay. Dom DeLuise and
Burt Reynolds.
And
Everybody was in this fucking movie.
All the fucking Southern fucking superstars in there. Fucking and people from the North too. Fucking. That one had Sammy Davis Jr. was in it.
Was it Farrah Fawcett?
Farrah Fawcett, I think, was in it.
Yeah, everybody was in that fucking.
Yeah, it was a big Coke party. It was a Hollywood Coke
I
party.
remember it being funny, but it's like I haven't seen it for many years, so so it might still be funny.
Smoking a Bandit fucking still kind of good, but
I haven't seen the Cannonball Run since I was a teenager.
Run, yeah.
I think it's on one of the streaming services.
Yeah.
So this, it was very stunt heavy. A lot of it had a lot of stunt people on it. So one of the stunts though was particularly bad for a stunt woman named Heidi Von Beltz. Now she was 24 and she was an up and coming like stunt performer, and she was brought onto the movie to double Farrah Fawcett's character. So the stunt that she was working on involved an Aston Martin, and it was kind of weaving through a line of approaching vehicles. I think I kind of remember that scene.
I think it had Roger Moore in it. Wasn't he driving it?
Yeah, I think he might have been.
Basically,
now that you're mentioning
pretending
it.
to be James Bond.
Yeah, like I said, there's everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody that was anybody in the 70s was in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Wasn't like fucking wasn't Dean Martin in it?
Dean Martin was in it. Yeah, he was riding around with Sammy Davis, and they were dressed as priests.
Priests, yeah,
but
that's
if you look
right.
closely, Sammy Davis Jr. is a satanic priest. He's got fucking they had Baphomet on there.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
That old fucking what's his name gave him.
Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey gave it to him. Yeah, Anton LaVey liked him. Made him a bishop.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I think we talked about that on the Anton LaVey show.
Yeah.
So this Aston Martin's supposed to go like in and out of these other vehicles. Now, according to many later witness accounts, this Aston Martin was not in great shape. It didn't have real good steering on it. The speedometer was fucked up. The clutch was fucked up. And the car didn't have any seat belts. Now, the stunt woman, Heidi Von Beltz, was in the passenger seat, and the Aston Martin hit a van. And her spinal cord was horribly, horribly injured, and she was left quadriplegic. So she could obviously never work again. There were lawsuits after that for like years and years, and but it didn't bring it back. Like I said, she was only 24 and she couldn't work anymore because she was completely paralyzed. And she lived quite a bit longer. She died in 2015, but she obviously couldn't do any more stunt work after that. This one's kind of crazy too. This is from the 60s. And this was a movie called The Flight of the Phoenix. This was another one that was kind of ironic in the same way that the Maximum Overdrive was. In the way that what the movie was about was kind of what happened. So this is a 1965 movie, Flight of the Phoenix, and it's about the survivors of a plane crash in the desert, and they build another airplane from the wreckage and attempt to fly out of the desert because they're stuck in the desert. So during the making of the movie, the filmmakers built an actual airplane that looked like the improvised plane in the story, and because, realism, it really crashed. Sadly. So Paul Mantz was kind of a well-known stunt pilot in Hollywood and had been in tons of movies, decades of experience, flying aircraft, right? So on July 8th, 1965, he was flying this specially built, it was a Phoenix P-1, and it was he was supposed to fly pretty low, like over the desert, right? During the maneuver, the plane flew too low, the aircraft struck the ground and broke into pieces, and Paul Mantz was killed. The stunt performer Bobby Rose, who was also on the plane, was terribly injured but survived. They did actually finish making the movie. They built another airplane for the remaining flying sequences, but it's kind of crazy that the whole story of the movie was that these people had crashed a plane in the desert, built another plane, to get out of the desert, and then they built another plane, and then it crashed and it killed the people. So that's pretty fucked up. This was another one that I didn't know about, and this is a movie that I'd seen, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and this one concerns a stunt performer named David Holmes. And he had been in the Harry Potter movies, I think from the beginning. Like, he was a gymnast and then later went on to do stunt work. And he was, I think he doubled a lot of the actors in the movie. But he was Daniel Radcliffe, who obviously played Harry Potter. He was like his main stunt double. And so he worked on the Harry Potter movies for like years and years. And they were doing so this was actually during a rehearsal for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 in 2009. And so he's rehearsing a stunt where Harry Potter is supposed to kind of get, kind of violently pulled back through the air. And he had a pulley and weight system. And they did it one time and they said, it didn't really look that good. Like, it wasn't dramatic enough, I guess. So they added more weight on it so it would be faster. And so when they did it the second time, he got propelled backward and hit a wall with tremendous force. He was conscious, but he said he immediately knew something was wrong. He's like, immediately, as soon as he hit that wall, he couldn't feel his legs anymore.
Oh, shit.
And he had broken his neck. And he was actually left paralyzed from the chest down. I saw like a little bit of a interview with him. He seems like, I mean, what are you gonna do, right? It's like nothing you can do about it. He seemed pretty chipper about it. You know what I mean? And he was like, yeah, I doubled Rupert Grint, who played the Weasley or whatever. And I think he also doubled Hermione. You know what I mean? I guess they put a wig on him or whatever. But he was mostly, the Harry Potter stunt double. And I saw like clips of him like doing the stunts like in front of the green screen and everything, and he does kind of look like him. So he was left paralyzed, and since that accident, they don't use that weighted system anymore, as far as I know, like that wire stunt. Obviously for this reason, because you can get paralyzed. And what I thought was kind of nice was that, he had worked on the Harry Potter movies for so long that him and Daniel Radcliffe were kind of buddies, you know what I mean? Because he was the stunt double. And they actually remained friends, like, long after the series ended. And Daniel Radcliffe actually later executive produced a documentary about him called David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived, which is what they call Harry Potter in the books. You know what I mean? So I thought that was kind of nice. That Daniel Radcliffe seems like a nice person. You know what I mean? And he's been in so many other, like, I know people knew him because when he was a kid and he started out with Harry Potter, but he's been in like so many cool, like, interesting movies since then. That, and then, like I said, he just seems like a nice dude.
That dude's paralyzed from the chest down. I imagine the insurance fucking gave him millions.
I mean, I would hope so. Yeah, because that's shitty. Like I said, that fucks up your whole life.
To me, that'd be like a fate worse than death. I think I would almost rather be dead, but fucking.
I guess it would depend. You would get used to it after a while, but
man, no sex.
That would be bad.
Fuck.
That would be like probably the worst. Well, I don't know if that'd be the worst thing, but that'd be one of the worst things. You know what I mean? So since somebody mentioned,
does he have any sensation at all?
Not as far as I know.
Fuck.
No, I don't think so. He said he didn't feel anything.
I got a weird feeling that shit can be fixed. So maybe you just hang on hoping, well, they might be able to fix this one day. Because I think you could fix it either with stem cells or with AI. Because I would think some kind of like AI, kind of like quantum computational computer could get in there and reroute that broken spinal cord and figure out where all that stuff goes.
Yeah, I mean, one of these days,
remake the connections
they
somehow,
might be able to,
artificially.
They might be able to fix it.
You need like a computer in there, rewiring it.
Well, wasn't like Christopher Reeve. I mean, I think he was kind of big on the stem cell thing because he was hoping that it would.
Yeah, he didn't make it.
No, he didn't make it long enough.
They didn't really.
And he was thrown from a horse, wasn't he?
Yeah, I saw the thing happen. Fucking recordings of it, and he didn't really come off that horse at a very high speed. His head just hit the jump.
Yeah, like all you got to do is fall wrong.
Yeah,
I mean,
just fell wrong.
We're just little meat sacks. We're not really that sturdy.
And and that poor dude, It's just fucking. It's sometimes better just be killed outright. You know.
Well, now SideQuest Hero says my brother fell 20 feet on his neck and he's paralyzed chest down.
Yeah.
And he's busy with more life than me. It's a bit embarrassing for me, honestly. She says chipper as fuck. It's amazing how people can adjust.
Well, I came off my bike and was in a coma when I was paralyzed on the right side, but not for very long.
Yeah.
It you know, my speech was a little bit slurred. It wasn't really slurred. My speech was confused.
Yeah.
I'd forget words.
Well, I do that.
But
I don't even have a head injury.
And it got a lot harder to read because I couldn't get my eyes to go down the damn sentence. They'd jump back and go back. You couldn't control where my eyeballs were, which I still kind of have that sometimes. Not as bad as it was.
Like, you didn't have to, like, relearn how to walk or anything like that.
No. Well, I would walk, but I would constantly walk and then
yeah, you're kind of like listing to one side.
Yeah, that's why when you see those damn fucking, like possums and raccoons walking in a circle, it's because they've been hit by a car. They're trying to walk straight, but it just...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a head injury. They're like, I know how you feel, bro.
Yeah. He's like,
I've been walking and hit the wall.
Been there.
Oh, shit. And then hit the wall. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's like, I'm trying to walk straight, goddammit.
Yeah.
Fucking brain. But yeah, since somebody brought up a long time ago the Resident Evil movies, I did want to talk about that a little bit briefly. This happened in 2015, and they were filming Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, which is, what is that? The 6th movie, 7th movie, 10th movie? I don't even know. They made a lot of Resident Evil movies, and I've only seen the first one, I think. So they were making this movie in South Africa in 2015. Now, there was a stunt woman that was working on it, Olivia Jackson, and she had worked on a bunch of different movies. She was doubling Mila Jovovich in this movie. Now, for one scene, she was riding a motorcycle, like high speed, directly toward a camera. Now, the camera was mounted on a crane, which was attached to an approaching vehicle. Now, what was supposed to happen, it wasn't her fault. What was supposed to happen was that the camera crane was supposed to, like, right before she got on the motorcycle, like, to where the camera was, the crane was supposed to get out of the way. You know what I mean? As you can probably tell, that did not happen. So she crashed full speed on a motorcycle, like, into this big camera rig, which was supposed to move out of the way, but it did not. So she got really bad facial trauma, multiple fractures, brain swelling, vascular injuries. She was in a coma for 17 days. And the damage to her left arm was so bad that they had to amputate it. I saw some pictures of her. See, this is what's kind of, man, losing your arm, that's gotta fucking suck. But I saw that she got, like, right above where she lost it, about there. And right above there, she got a tattoo of, like, a dotted line and a little scissor. And I was like, that's kind of cool, I guess. It's just kind of like, at least you gotta laugh. It's like, what the fuck else are you gonna do? They can't fix it. So yeah, so she had her arm removed.
They actually make a lot better cybernetic stuff that they have now.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there's that might be an option as well. So yeah, so obviously she did survive, but she was pretty fucked up, and she couldn't be a stunt performer anymore, and they had to do years and years of litigation after.
I'm gonna give y'all advice. This is some advice you could take to the bank. You do not want to die in the next 15 years or 10 years. Starting from 5 years from now, there's going to be all these new drugs coming out. They're unlike any of the drugs and technologies you've ever seen before in your life, because they're all going to be produced by AI. And they're going to start accelerating. And 15 years from now, if you can survive to 15 years, there's a good chance that you'll probably grow younger and kind of be immortal. Because they're coming out with fucking these drugs. They already have some of them now. There's one of them now that are making the apes get younger, and the fucking rats are living to fucking twice their normal lifespan. And it's a peptide that just reboots your fucking cells. It kind of reboots your cells to, it's tripping switches in there that reboots them to kind of almost be a little bit like a stem cell. So you grow younger. And you know that bitch is going to cost a lot of money. But, there'll be a black market for it, I'm sure. And it's evidently not difficult. And AI it does all the fucking research and all the thinking and all the estimate, because it knows the human genome, and it's learning more. And it's like, its knowledge is like doubling every year, which that's exponential increase. So if you can live another 15 years, you'll probably be immortal. You'll be killed by accidents, but your lifespan will at least double. And then 100 years from now, then you're fucking becoming, 100 years later, you're like, well, we can regrow a new body. I'll just transfer my fucking consciousness into that one. And maybe that new body is a synthetic android, or you're in a damn internet like heaven. So you become post biological. Now you're immortal. So don't die if you can help it.
I'll try.
Because the whole game's going to change 10 years from now. It'd be a totally different game. GLP-1 has already extended people's lives by 10 years. And it seems to have anti-cancer properties. And then all the hormone treatments and everything else that's happening, fucking people are getting younger. I'm almost 60. I can't believe it. They didn't have dudes like me 60 when I was a little kid. Nah. This is fucking biotech. And it's getting even better. Okay, I'm done. I'm just giving giving the listener some good advice. And there's all kinds of fucking shows on it on YouTube. And dudes that know what they're talking about. I'm just listening to them, but they know what they're talking about. Fucking, we're gonna live a long time, probably.
Don't jinx it.
I ain't gonna jinx it. I ride motorcycles. I love them. That's the only high risk thing I do, really. And drive cars.
Well, I mean, that's pretty risky in itself.
Yeah. In the United States, if you don't live here, people think, well, you can get shot in America, this and that. We got guns. No, your biggest fucking killer here is fucking driving cars.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you should probably worry the most about.
Yeah, most of the shootings and shit is confined to a small part of a certain city, and it's the same dudes always. Guys in the drug trade, they're doing most of it. And then suicides, but a lot of those people want to die. And if you found out the details, you'd agree with them. They got terminal illnesses and shit. Fucking, But no, I want to live a long time, like a vampire.
All right, so I have a few more that are just kind of like brief. Oh, and hey, look, another Tom Cruise movie.
All right.
This one, I had actually never heard of this movie. It's called American Made, and it came out in 2015, and they shot it in Colombia, and there was a sequence where a stunt pilot named Alan Perwin and a Venezuelan pilot named Carlos Burrell were killed when their small aircraft crashed. I don't think they were filming a scene, but I think they were, returning from production work, while the movie was shooting. The pilot, whose name was Jimmy Lee Garland, he survived, but he was badly injured. They weren't filming a stunt, like I said, but it was on the set, you know what I mean? So there was that. So that was like a Tom Cruise movie I didn't even know existed. Another one from 2015 was the Martin Scorsese movie Silence. He was shooting it in Taiwan. And I think this was shortly before shooting started. Like, they had already done all the production design and stuff. But there were some workers in Taiwan, and they were reinforcing this old structure that they were going to use for shooting, and it collapsed. And one of the construction workers was killed, and 2 other ones were injured. I don't believe Martin Scorsese was there at the time. Not that it would have mattered, but it was his movie. There was one on Blade Runner 2049 as well. A 28-year-old Hungarian construction worker was killed at the studios where they were shooting it in Budapest while he was taking apart one of the film's sets. I guess like a portion of the set or a platform or something collapsed onto him. The filming had been completed and they were breaking down the set, and he died while they were taking the set down. Deadpool 2. I actually didn't know about this one either. This was a motorcycle race. This was 2017. Motorcycle racer Joy S.J. Harris. She was very experienced motorcycle racer. This was her first movie where she was being a stunt performer, but she was like a very well-known motorcycle racer. So she was doubling, the character of Domino in Deadpool 2. And she actually lost control of the motorcycle during filming in Vancouver, and she crashed into a building. She was not wearing a helmet. I don't know if that was because she didn't want to wear a helmet, or if the production told her don't wear a helmet, it looks better, or whatever. But yeah, I saw some of the aftermath, not the body or anything, but I saw the motorcycle and I saw the front of the buildings. It was like this big glass windows and stuff. And she just crashed right fucking through it.
She did the stunt without a helmet.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know whose idea that was. But like I said, I don't know. But
that would have saved her life.
Probably.
Oh yeah.
It
makes a huge difference statistically. People don't realize it, man. You come off at 30 and your head hits the asphalt. That's like worse than getting hit with a baseball bat in the head.
Well, yeah. I mean, 30 just doesn't seem
And 30
that.
is slow.
Yeah,
on
it
a
doesn't seem
motorcycle.
that fast. Well, the guy that died, hitting the tree in England, on that one movie, he was only going 20 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and it still killed him.
Yeah, and last time I had a wreck, I came off at probably about 65, 70. I had a helmet and full armor. I was wearing the Icon striker system and shit, and walked away from it. Fine. Even the bike wasn't that bad. I just low-sided and slid because a cat hit a cat, and limped the bike back home and everything because fucking my shift lever broke off, and so I had to fucking limp it back like in fifth gear. But it was a Buell, so I had a lot of torque. And I was fine until I fell asleep and woke up.
Yeah, then
I couldn't even fucking move.
Then you really weren't so fine.
Jen had to undress me. I couldn't move. I'd pissed blood a little bit. She was feeding me fucking hamburger.
Yeah, because he couldn't really.
I couldn't move.
Yeah, really not
I was
at all.
just solid.
He was just laying there like groaning.
Solid, yeah. And I had a little bit of road rash, but not much because I was wearing.
Although your whole entire side was black.
Yeah.
Like where because there's no armor. The armor is front and back, but there's like
where the road rash was.
There's like gap right here.
Yeah, I felt like I'd just been beat with a baseball bat.
It looked like that.
But I was okay. Until I fell asleep. And then all that
once you be still.
All that lactic acid built up in there, and I was just fucking so stiff I couldn't fucking move.
Yeah, because when you called me and told me about it, I was like, well, I was like, because I was at work, and I was like, well, you want me to come home? No, I'm fine.
Yeah, I was all that adrenaline and fucking, and I was like, yeah, I made it. I'm good. I was moving for hours. I laid down, fucking took a nap, and when I got up, I was just like I was in rigor mortis.
Yeah, like you couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah, couldn't miss it. Take my clothes off.
Yeah, and it was just, and it was hard because it's like I'd have to like take off his pants and stuff like that, and he would just be like screaming the whole time, and I would just be like,
yeah.
It's like, do you want me to do this or not? It's just like, you're just fucking screaming. Yeah. I can't help it.
And then I woke up the next morning and I was sore, but I could move.
Yeah, it was bad. It all just
kind of that lactic. I guess it's lactic acid. I think is what they call it.
Zach says one of my friends had a motorcycle accident on a highway end of last year and had to get his eyebrow stitched up, so now it's permanently arched. So now he goes around looking like that, like skeptical all the time. That's pretty funny.
So the modern equipment fucking makes a huge difference.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's better than just fucking riding around with flip flops and.
I can't believe that shit Evel Knievel was doing, and he just did a leather suit with a helmet.
He was kind of crazy though.
Crazy motherfucker. And he was busted up constantly.
Yeah, he loved it.
They told him, they said, we can make you a protective suit that would save you from all. He goes, well, the crowd would hate that.
Yeah, what kind of pussy would that
What kind of pussy you think I am? That's not the same, And they were just like, all right.
Yeah.
That dude fucking spent the rest of his life with a cane, and with all his old age, he didn't.
I wondered if he regretted it when he was old, being like, man, why did I do that shit? Probably not.
No. A camp guy came in and says, yeah, but your bones and everything would wear out in your joint. No, you don't understand, man. I'm almost 60. I could go backwards in time to the 101st Airborne Division, find my 22-year-old self, and kick my ass back then. No. My bone density is greater than it was in my 20s. My joints are far more hydrated and limber than they were. I feel like I have like 3 times the testosterone of a fucking teenager, and then I have fucking androgens and anabolics in me that's outside the human range. So I'm superhuman. My recovery rate is superhuman. And you say, well, there's got to be a risk to that. No. Because what it does is it's counteracting dying. Because that's what happens when you're old. It'll keep you alive. That's what kept all those guys with AIDS alive. The AIDS cocktail was antivirals and fucking nandrolone and testosterone with steroids. And those guys are still alive. And they knew that back then. But the big pharma wanted them to take AZT. They all died. That was Anthony Fauci. The guys that were doctors were going to prison giving fucking guys with fucking HIV the cure, which is antivirals and steroids. That's why all those gay dudes fucking looked jacked and shit. They had AIDS. They were going to the gym. And it counteracted all that stuff and beat it. Yeah. Just telling you the truth. But no, technology works. It costs money though. And you have to have discipline. You can't just, it becomes a lifestyle. It's like if you lose your vision, you got to wear glasses. If you lose your teeth, you're gonna have to wear false teeth. You know, if your endocrine system's shutting down, you're gonna have to fucking have a synthetic, fucking custom-made endocrine system. It just keeps you growing. Yeah, and some of these dudes were fucking, you know, fucking with shit that wasn't tested. I used stuff that was been around since the '60s that they know what it does. You know, take the human growth hormone and your face gets all big and shit. They didn't really know what they were doing with that. You can take some of that, but it's just not really worth it. It costs a lot, and you only need a little bit. You can't see any difference in you. But the new shit that's coming, man, will make us be better than everything that we have now. But that's probably about 10 years away. Okay, go ahead, back. We're talking.
Okay, so got a few more that I just wanted to get into because it's getting late.
Yeah.
All right, so the Expendables 2, someone died on the set of that as well. The Chinese stunt performer Kun Liu was killed, and another stunt performer was seriously injured when an explosion went awry when they were filming on a reservoir in Bulgaria. There was a wrongful death suit. I'm not really sure how that came out, though. But I didn't realize, again, I've seen Expendables 2, and I didn't realize somebody died on that one either. The Vin Diesel movie, Triple X, from 2002.
I think I remember that one. It was pretty good. I like that one.
I saw it a long time ago, but I don't really remember much about it.
Now, yeah.
The stuntman and aerial coordinator on that one, whose name was Harry O'Connor, he actually died during the filming. He was Vin Diesel's stunt double, and he was doing like a paragliding sequence. They shot it in Prague, and so he was being towed at high speed. Obviously, it's paragliding, and he did this. He did this stunt once, you know, and they got it. You know what I mean, like on film, but either because he wanted to do a second take or the director wanted a second take, I'm not sure, but they're like, we're going to do it again. And on the second one, he misjudged his speed and his angle. He didn't clear the bridge and basically slammed into the bridge pillar and was killed instantly. So if you see the movie nowadays, the obviously successful first take where he didn't die is still in the movie. And the movie is dedicated to his memory, as well it should be. Now, remember how I said back in the 20s they didn't give a fuck? This is one of the movies I was talking about. So this movie came out in 1928, Noah's Ark. And, you know, obviously it's about Noah's Ark, right? Now...
Man, what year was this?
1928.
Okay.
And again, I think this was a Cecil B. DeMille production, as far as I'm aware. So the director was named Michael Curtiz, or Curtis. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. So... obviously, they didn't have special effects in 1928. Like, well, you know, they don't have CGI or anything like that. So it's like, so we're going to do a biblical flood. So guess what? We're going to really do a flood. 600,000 gallons of water, to be realistic. Now, the extras were not really warned about this. Basically, they're like, well, a bunch of water is going to come in, but just like, you know, roll with it. They didn't have any safety gear. No safety considerations whatsoever. So they basically flooded this huge area. 3 of the extras drowned. One of them lost a leg. I think there were various other injuries as well.
How did 3 of them drown at the same time in one incident? Or
it was a whole... well, he flooded the whole big area. You know what I mean? And 3 people drowned.
Maybe they couldn't swim, huh?
Well, no, the pressure of the water just like pushed everybody underwater. It was like a huge...
oh, it's like a big wave?
Yeah, like that.
Okay, so they were in there when he flooded it.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was like that.
Flooded and they jumped in. Okay.
No. And reportedly, the cinematographer, the original cinematographer from the film, actually quit after he was just kind of like, bro, this seems kind of dangerous. And the director was like, well, the extras are just going to have to take their chances. I don't know if he really said that or not, but that's what the story is. And he was just like, fuck that, I quit.
Sense. That makes sense for the time.
The dude quit. Like, they had to get another cinematographer.
Yeah.
But yeah, a bunch of people got hypothermia, a bunch of people broke bones. Like I said, one person lost a leg, 3 people drowned.
Yeah.
They said it was like, a horrible shit show. And but I
It's
can't
like
imagine.
something out of the fucking Roman arena.
This kind of, well, it kind of reminds me of, you know, the movie Shadow the Vampire,
Yeah.
where you know, John Malkovich is playing F.W. Murnau,
Yeah.
and he's like so committed to realism in the 1920s that he's like, I'm gonna hire an actual vampire to
And
be
it's
in
gonna
my
eat some
vampire
people.
movie, and I'm gonna let it eat some of the actors,
Yeah.
like, you know, just as a bargain.
Yeah.
So this kind of reminded me of that. That's why I thought that movie was so funny, because I knew a lot about, I mean, it's darkly funny because of back then, like I said, they didn't have any safety regulations. Shit like this, like, because this was a pretty famous incident at the time, was what spurred the formation of like the Screen Actors Guild and stuff like that, which like Boris Karloff and many other actors were involved in starting that.
Life was
Just
cheaper back
yeah,
then.
just because there was no safety regulations. They
Yeah.
were just kind of, they would work people for hours and hours and hours, no safety equipment, no nothing, like no consideration, and they didn't really care if you lived or died. They'd use like real guns. They'd blow shit up like right next to you. It's just kind of like they didn't give one single fuck. So so they flooded a whole ass area and a bunch of people drowned. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Well, shit, all you do is look at the old silent movies, you know, Charlie Chaplin and some of these guys doing these stunts. They were jumping off of real cars and being drugged by fucking real train cars. And stuff on the back. You could tell it was kind of like, it was scripted, but there was no safety harness. They were just, okay, yeah, drag me. I'll hold on to the back of the car.
Yeah,
they're going 45. Yeah.
John Gore says, Michael Curtis did Casablanca. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so it's the same director as Casablanca. Learn something new every day, don't you? So the last one I have, this was actually a little bit more of an obscure one because this is a Russian film, and it's called The Last Frontier. It came out in 2020. And a stuntman named Oleg Shilkin was killed on this, it was a war film. I think it was also released under the name The Final Stand. So the accident actually happened in October 2018. The film was, they were doing this big battle scene involving kind of military equipment, a bunch of extras, and there was a tank that was, you know, taking part in this whole scene, and it didn't stop on the mark where it was supposed to stop. It was supposed to stop about 10 feet away from the stuntman, and it didn't, and it just ran him over, like just squish.
It doesn't count though. It's Russia. Russia's tougher.
I know, but well, that doesn't matter. The dude still got killed shooting a movie. It's just kind of like that's what the whole fucking show's about.
Yeah.
So he was 31 years
Russia will
old.
break you.
He was 31 years old. Obviously he got run over by a fucking tank, and he died before the ambulance could show up. There was an inquiry into the accident, but I'm not really sure what the outset of that is. I feel like most of the time, like on most of these, there were like lawsuits and settlements and shit like that. But
Russians are awesome, man. When I was fucking in the goth scene and got out of the army, I was in Boston. I fucking hooked up with a Russian guy who got out of the army and ran from the fucking collapsing Soviet Union. We were in the goth club. His name was Vadim Konyev. Fucking, I still got him on Facebook. It's funny because he's like, "I'm gonna come see you, man." Fucking, he's been to Russia and everything, and you talk, and fucking, you look great, you know. Just funny, you know. He's in Germany now, but he says, "Well, the place is a has been, man. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna try to get back to the United States, or Russia." He wanted to go one of the two, but he's got kids now and everything. It's so funny to see. He was like something out of Interview with a Vampire, fucking when we were hanging out in the '90s. Looked like fucking Antonio Banderas, long black hair. Girlfriend was a stripper. It's fucking funny. But Russians are also, man, fucking cool. Especially when you get them out of Russia. They really act a fool, man. Fun days.
Camp Guy says, Quentin Tarantino got some good car movie shots in that movie Grindhouse. The girl was on the hood of the car, which was racing down the road. That's a killer movie, by the way. I saw it uncensored on the opening weekend. I did as well.
Yeah.
It was a lot more fun to see it, because now I feel like they sell it as like two separate movies, right? It's like Death Proof and whatever the first one's called, Planet Terror.
Yeah.
But when you saw it in the theater, it was called Grindhouse, and they showed both movies, and then all those cool fake trailers were in the middle, because he wanted it to be like an old school movie experience where it was a double feature with all these trailers for like made up movies in the middle. And some of those, you know, movies like Hatchet and Thanksgiving and stuff like that, they did actually end up making those for real, like later on, but back then they weren't. And I remember seeing it in the theater, and it was like a really cool experience. That woman that was in that, she's like, I can't remember what her name, Zoe Bell is, I think, her name. And I've seen her in other movies too. She's actually quite a famous stunt woman, and man, she did some amazing shit in that movie. Like, yeah, she's just like hanging onto the hood of the car, and happily she's still alive as far as I know. But yeah, she did some great fucking stunts in that. And and that's all real. But yeah, it just goes to show that, you know, I feel like for the stunt people, they know the risks. I mean, obviously they try to mitigate the risks because they don't want to lose their career, because you very easily can, as some of the people on here did. But I feel like it's sadder maybe when it's people that aren't really expecting, like you know, like Vic Morrow
Just
and
a
those
bunch of
and those
extras.
two kids, or it's like just somebody on the crew, like a production assistant or something like that,
Yeah.
who was like not expect. It's like, hey, I'm not jumping off a building or like getting shot at or blown up or anything like that. So it's like they don't really expect anything like that to
Yeah.
happen. But it just goes to show that fucking accidents can happen when you least expecting it. And like I said, even the ones with the pilots that were like really experienced, like that, you can still fuck shit up too, even if you've done it for years and years and have done the same thing. Like something can always go wrong. So
Especially back in the old days.
yeah, and like I said,
when movies were grittier, like the Mad Max movies and stuff, when they were really doing fucking dangerous stunts and getting hurt. Yeah. But shit, yeah, accidents happen doing bullshit stuff too, making westerns.
well, and I mean, shit, accidents happen just doing stupid shit. Like,
yeah, make a Bible movie, just drown 3 people.
Or if it's Passion of the Christ, get struck by lightning.
Yeah, get struck by lightning.
That one,
get hit by a whip.
I guess the dude didn't die, so it's like, so I guess I can laugh, but it's just like, it's so funny that two people got struck by lightning on that, on Passion of the Christ. Getting struck by lightning is remarkably rare.
Yeah.
So I think it's like really funny. Like, I don't believe in God at all, but I just think it's like, that just made me laugh. That I was just kind of like, somebody was trying to tell you something. Quit filming that movie, Mel Gibson.
Having almost been hit by one and seeing one strike a tree 20 feet from me, you wouldn't know what hit you.
No, probably not.
No.
Well, I mean, unless you lived, then you would. But he did. He did live.
Yeah, then you would know. But
and his heart was kind of fucked up.
If it got you bad, you'd never even know.
I've heard it. Wasn't there that one guy that was struck something like ridiculous, like 5 or 6 times, and he's still alive?
Yeah, but you know, I think there's something to. If it's the same guy I'm thinking about, some people think he was faking it.
It's possible
that he had a hole drilled through a pocket watch. He said that was his proof, because there weren't witnesses to these lightning strikes.
So maybe he was just making it up.
He could have been.
I've been struck 6 times and I'm fine.
Yeah.
And it gave me psychic powers.
Yeah.
It never gives you psychic powers, does it?
Because they had a guy that's like in the era of like In Search Of, who had been struck multiple times.
Yeah, I remember.
But it was mostly.
Although I saw something about, I don't know if it was that same guy or if it was a different guy. Like, I saw something more recently. But like I said, it probably still could be bullshit. And honestly, it would have a lot to do with where you lived and what kind of job you had. Like, do you live somewhere where there's a lot of storms and you're outside a lot, like around tall metal things? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it might be more likely you get hit. It's still very unlikely, but...
One of the stories I remember had paranormal element to it, that it was his personality, that he thought it was his personality that was attracting lightning. And they'd find him struck, but like it was like nobody saw the actual bolt.
So he was just laying there going man, what happened?
Yeah, and he was like, oh, look at my watch. It's got a hole burned through it.
I just saw a bright light.
So lightning was going off, but they found him out there, you know. So what you could do is you could get that ready and wait for a lightning storm, and then when a lightning bolt hits in your area, jump out there and let somebody find you.
Yeah.
See.
Then you could take like a Sharpie and make your fingernails black or something, like if you were thinking ahead, you know what I mean? It's like, look, my fingernails
you can fake
that. Yeah, like if nobody saw it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not impossible. There's billions of people in the world, so it's like, it's possible that somebody's been struck more than once. But like I said, it's pretty unlikely. So that's why I thought that Passion of the Christ one was kind of funny, because I was like, what are the odds on a Jesus movie of not only Jesus being struck, but like some other poor random motherfucker that was like working on the movie also got struck by lightning.
The story I'm remembering was, like I said, from the 70s and 80s. Like something from In Search Of. He was also claiming that objects could be magnetized to him because he'd been struck by lightning.
Oh, well, see, now that's obviously bullshit.
So, yeah.
People are not magnetic.
Stick things to himself, and then it was only temporary. And
maybe they're just really sticky.
The witnesses saw it. Well, shit, fucking guys like Uri Geller could do weird things with silverware. And witnesses saw it, but he couldn't do it again. The force has left me. The static electricity.
He's like, I don't have the sticky maple syrup I was using to stick these fucking spoons on my arms. Is what happened. Camp Guy said, I heard some ridiculous number of livestock killed in one lightning, something like 25 or 30 more cows
Yeah.
and horses. Yeah, that does happen.
Horses, yeah, horses will get killed like 6 at a time because they go underneath the tree.
Yeah, and if it strikes the tree, like it kills them.
Yeah, I was a barn manager fucking with the lightning storm was on the way. You had to go bring all the fucking horses in because they'll go up around underneath a tree. And if
so they don't
the
get
tree
wet.
gets struck, it fucking kills them all.
You remember back in the old days, I don't know if they tell people this anymore, but remember they used to say, oh, if it's lightning outside, like don't take a shower. Remember how they used to tell you that?
Yeah, it's because the pipes.
Yeah, I know that's why.
Yeah.
But it's just like I don't really know if that's much of a concern anymore.
Probably not.
I don't think it was much of a concern back then. Like it could happen.
Might have happened once.
And also they said don't talk on the phone. Like I'm talking landline phone. I'm not obviously I'm not talking about cell phone.
That was back in the time when they had
like that it could shock you and stuff.
Yeah.
I never had that happen.
Landlines and fucking telephone poles everywhere.
Yeah, so like
there's no telephone poles anymore.
Yeah, so the theory was like if lightning struck a telephone pole by your house, like it could travel down the thing and like.
Isn't it funny? Haven't seen a telephone pole in a long time, have you?
Not that I'm really looking for them.
No, they're not around anymore.
It's just like you don't see like outside phone booths anymore. Like every now and then
realize
you'll see
them anymore.
But yeah, they just kind of slowly disappeared. Well, it's like I said, nobody really needs them.
I remember the telephone poles would be everywhere.
Well, yeah, of course, because they needed them.
Yeah.
Now not so much.
It's the thing of the past.
Yep. Well, like I said,
yeah,
I didn't really notice, so it's not like I'm heartbroken about it or anything.
Yeah,
they were kind of an eyesore.
Yeah, they were an eyesore.
All right, so I guess we're gonna wrap it up for this evening. It's getting kind of late.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys enjoy the show. I'm glad I got to like all the cases pretty much because I'm sitting there going like I didn't know how many to put on there, and I was like, well, if I keep most of them brief, I can because there's and I'm gonna say we could probably do a part 2 and maybe even a part 3 because there's like a million other ones that I didn't talk about.
So you can always fall back on that if you need a show.
So if I need a show, I could always do another one because there's like a fuck ton of other ones that I didn't even mention. So yeah, including the Heaven's Gate one, which Zach mentioned like a long time ago, which I did think about including, but I was like, man, I've already got a big list. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up for this evening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Please come back on Friday evening for our sidetrack show. Again, we're not going out on Friday, so we can just sit here, have some drinks, talk with you guys. If you're new here, our sidetrack show is just there's no topic. We just talk about whatever pops into our stupid heads. And get drunker and drunker as the night goes on, and it's usually pretty fun. So hopefully you can join us for that. In the meantime, have a good rest of your evening, you guys. Have a good day tomorrow, and we will see you guys again on Friday night. Good night.